First, I've been secretly investigating Huasiqian's overseas forces. The waters are deep. I'll explain it to you slowly. What about the second reason? Huamin was filled with anger. She looked at Qin Chu with love and hate. The second reason is that when I crashed, I injured my leg and injured my kneecap. You're a doctor, so I don't need to tell you how sensitive this is. It would be better if it was the bone, but the kneecap can't be regrown. There's new technology in the States, so I tried it. At first, I could only walk with crutches, but now, I've spent almost 4 years recuperating. Unfortunately, I still haven't fully recovered, and there are still some effects. So right now, I'm basically a cripple. I wanted to come back after I fully recovered because I didn't want you to worry, but it's too long. I feel like if I wait any longer, I'll go crazy from missing you. So Mian, do you dislike the imperfect me? After hearing Qin Chu's words, Huamin froze on the spot. Dumbfounded, she never would have thought that because of this she and Qin Chu missed out on 4 whole years. What if I say that I dislike it? Huamin quietly looked at Qin Chu and asked. Then you can pretend that I never came back and continue living the life you're living now. Qin Chu still looked at her gently. Huamin's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. Chapter 1788. Qin Chu, do you even have a conscience? How could you abandon me at a time like this? Huamin couldn't hold it in anymore. She pounded on Qin Chu's shoulder as tears streamed down her face. She knew that she didn't need to hide her emotions in front of Qin Chu. She just needed to be her true self. Only in front of Qin Chu was she not a filial daughter, not a warm sister, not a loving mother, not the powerful President Hua, not the genius Dr. Hua. She was only the little girl Huamin. Qin Chu hugged Huamin again. He gently kissed her forehead and doted on her. He knew that she had gone through a lot, and she knew that he had gone through a lot. Honey, don't leave me again. I don't care how disabled you are. Even if you're half dead, you have to stay with me. Huamin hugged Qin Chu's broad waist tightly and said in a coquettish tone. I won't leave you again. Next time, unless it's life or death, nothing will separate us. Huamin looked up at him and said in all seriousness, even if it's life or death, if you dare to make decisions on your own again, then I won't live anymore. I'll leave your poor daughters to live alone in this world. Qin Chu's eyes were filled with warmth at the mention of his 2 cute daughters. Thank you, honey, for giving birth to my little princess. Pisich, why don't you suspect that the kids are Su Yu's? Huamin pushed him on purpose to piss him off. To her surprise, Mr. Qin proudly replied, Su Yu isn't that handsome to have such beautiful daughters. After hearing Mr. Qin's words, Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That arrogant Mr. Qin was back, even though he was late by 4 years. But, at this moment, Huamin didn't care about that anymore. She just wanted to cherish every moment she had with Qin Chu. President Hua. The little princesses have finished their performance. It's your turn to give a speech, and then Huamin's secretary Bella walked up to the deck. Before she could finish her sentence, she was dumbfounded. She was shocked by the sight of Qin Chu. Qin. President Qin. Oh my God. Bella had always been a calm person, and rarely made such a fuss. Qin Chu smiled and nodded. President Qin, is that really you? Bella wasn't sure. It's me. Oh my God. Oh my God. President Qin is back. Oh my God. Bella was in a mess. Huamin held Qin Chu's hand and smiled slightly. So, can Mr. Qin accompany me to the curtain call? That's not a problem. But is it really okay for you to hold your boss's hand like this? Qin Chu smiled. My boss? What do you mean? Huamin froze for a second before he realized what Qin Chu meant. He looked at Qin Chu in surprise. You're not. Nick, are you? It seems like you're not that dumb. I thought your IQ would plummet after you gave birth to our daughter. Qin Chu reached out his finger and flicked Huamin's head lovingly. Bella froze again upon hearing what happened. Mr. Nick, the new president of GK's American headquarters, was actually President Qin in person? Oh my God, this was unbelievable. What's going on? How could you be? Mr. Nick? Huamin was confused. She never would have thought that the big boss of GK's American headquarters, who pissed her off, was actually her husband. Oh my God. Was there anything more dramatic than this? Qin Shu was the president of GK's American headquarters. Chapter 1789. My uncle used to be a major shareholder there. Our family has always had shares in the company. Qin Ning is also a senior executive there. After I found out what happened, I sent my parents to Hawaii to recuperate. My uncle Qin Ning and I have been working at the headquarters. The previous president, Mr. Smith, got sick last year and resigned. The position of president has been vacant for a long time. I went through a series of selections and was finally elected as the new president by the board of directors. That's what happened. Qin Chu said it casually, but Huomin knew that it must have been a lot of hardships. Mr. Qin, you're still so amazing. I'm really impressed. Huomin praised sincerely. No, compared to Mrs. Qin, I'm nothing. Mrs. Qin went from a doctor to a CEO within 3 years, and her performance was outstanding. Otherwise, the headquarters in the U.S. wouldn't have asked me, the big boss, to come here personally. You're always teasing me. Huomin accidentally pushed Qin Chu. He lost his balance and almost fell down the stairs. Huomin hurriedly held him up and looked down at his leg. Indeed, his movements weren't as agile as before. If Qin Chu could endure it for 4 years, his injury must be very serious. Does it still hurt? Huomin looked at Qin Chu's leg with concern. No. It stopped a long time ago. When the plane crashed, Huomin reached out and touched Qin Chu's lips. Don't worry, we'll talk about this when we get home. What you need to do now is walk up the stage with me and let the twins see their daddy. Before Qin Chu could say anything, Huomin took his hand and walked slowly toward the hall. Huomin had never been so excited. She felt like she could feel everyone's eyes on her. Her man was back. Her husband was finally back. Qin Chu didn't die. These thoughts grew wildly in Huomin's mind. She wanted to announce it to the whole world. Immersed in the joy of Qin Chu's return, Huomin ignored Su Yu's feelings and didn't think too much about it. She held onto Qin Chu's hand and walked inside in a high-profile manner. As expected, Qin Chu's appearance immediately caused an uproar. Hey, look! Look, who's that man beside President Hua? He looks so familiar. Huh? Is that President Hua's boyfriend? Isn't President Hua and President Su the best couple? That man looks like President Hua's ex-husband. He looks so familiar. No way. What to Hua to the Huomian Su Yu? What's going on? Mom, look, is that my brother-in-law? Jixin was sitting next to his mother. He was also dumbfounded when he saw Qin Chu. Yang Meirong looked carefully under the light. Then, her expression changed drastically. Is that Qin Chu? Yang Meirong wasn't sure. Upon hearing Qin Chu's name, the 3 members of the Su family were all shocked. Lord Su had never seen Qin Chu in person. He had only seen photos. This was his first time seeing him. He narrowed his eyes and sized up the man under the spotlight. Black shirt, black pants, and a perfect side profile. When he walked over, he had the aura of a king. He was indeed a man who could suppress Su Yu. Mr. Su didn't say a word. He just looked in the direction of the crowd and saw Huomin and Qin Chu walking over. Is that really Mion's lover? Lady Su was also very surprised. At this moment, she subconsciously turned to look at the second table. However, she realized that Su Yu had already left. Lady Su's heart suddenly ached. Chapter 1790. Lady Su felt a little melancholy. It seemed like her son was going to be heartbroken again. When Qin Chu walked up, the people at the second table were all in an uproar. Gao Ran stood up excitedly. He couldn't hold back the yelling in his heart. He really wanted to shout out Qin Chu's name in front of everyone. Oh my God, it really is him. He finally came back safe and sound. Gao Ran was a little incoherent. It really is. Mr. Qin, he really came back. Zhu Lingling muttered to herself as she sat there in a daze. Jiang Xiaowei, on the other hand, looked very relieved. My Mion didn't wait in vain. She was happy for Huomin, although she also felt bad for Su Yu. Jiang Xiaowei knew that Huomin didn't live a happy life for the past 4 years. All the happiness was just a pretense. He lived for the sake of his daughters. Without Qin Chu, Huomin was already a walking corpse. He was a shell without a soul. Huomin had been living under a mask of his own for the past 4 years. No one could see his sadness. President Qin, you're really back. It seems like Sister Mian can finally rest in peace. And Aiyang smiled. Qin Chu and Huamin held hands as they walked down the long red carpet towards the center of the stage. The twins, who hadn't gotten off the stage after their song, were also dumbfounded. Sis, look at that person. Is that Daddy? Little Bean asked in her baby voice. I really think so. He looks a lot like us. No, we look a lot like him. The twins were also dumbfounded when they saw their mommy appear with their dazzling daddy. Was this supposed to be a birthday surprise? Pudding, Little Bean, this is Daddy. Huamin walked over and held their little hands as they walked up to Qin Chu. Wow. Daddy, you're so handsome in real life. You're 10,000 times more handsome than in photos. Little Bean was always good at flattering. She immediately ran over and hugged Qin Chu's leg tightly. When Qin Chu looked at the two little guys, his heart almost melted. He bent down and picked up Little Bean, kissing her cheek again and again. Pudding, you should go too, Huamin reminded his sister. To his surprise, Pudding, who was always smart and calm, calmly looked at Huamian and asked, Mommy, Daddy's back. What about handsome Su? To Su's surprise, Huamian Su was speechless. Subconsciously, she looked down the stage and saw that Suyu was no longer sitting there. Could it be that he already knew about Qin Chu's return? After Qin Chu kissed Little Bean, he gently put her down and looked at Pudding with a smile. Come here, let Daddy hug you. Qin Chu took the initiative to invite her. He had long heard that the older daughter was calm, smart, and arrogant, while the younger daughter liked to act cute. They were both unique. He had seen their photos since they were little. Now there were countless photo albums in his bedroom, all of which were of Huamin and the twins. Pudding was a little shy. She looked into Qin Chu's eyes and slowly walked over. There was a hint of arrogance in her movements. Qin Chu suddenly picked her up. You sang really well in English. Pudding, you're great. Daddy, what about me? Little Bean raised her head and asked unhappily. You're great too. You're both great. Of course. We're Qin Chu's and Huamin's daughters after all. Pudding continued to be arrogant. Qin Chu kissed Pudding again before reluctantly putting her down. At this moment, the audience was in an uproar. Huamin took the microphone from Bella and said softly, Let me introduce you to the person next to me. Everyone held their breaths, and the audience was silent. This is my husband, Qin Chu. Huamin announced to the world as she held onto Qin Chu's hand sweetly. After she said this, the audience went wild again. In an inconspicuous corner not far away, Huasiqian crushed the wine glass in his hand. Blood slowly dripped down his palm. It was a horrifying sight. Chapter 1791. Boss, your hand. Huasiqian's subordinates were scared out of their wits. Get out of my way, you bunch of idiots. He's already back, and you didn't even find a single clue. What's the point of keeping you guys around? Huasiqian gritted his teeth and scolded coldly. The person who made Huasiqian's dorm room uneasy and scared for 4 whole years suddenly appeared out of nowhere. In contrast to Su Yu's sadness, Huasiqian was extremely pissed. Huasiqian's hand was pierced by the glass shards, but he didn't seem to feel any pain. Compared to these superficial wounds, what hurt him even more was the happy smile on Huamin's face beside Qin Chu. She actually felt like it was an eyesore. After Huamin finished speaking, he handed the microphone to Qin Chu and gestured for him to say a few words. Qin Chu took the microphone and looked around. Then he slowly opened his mouth. His voice was incomparably beautiful. Thank you all for coming to my daughter's birthday party. Thank you. Qin Chu didn't say much. He only said one simple sentence, and it caused an uproar in the crowd. Then, Huamin waved his hand, signaling for the banquet to begin. Then, the family of 4 slowly walked down from the stage. The scene was extremely beautiful. Young Meirong was so excited that tears fell from her eyes when she saw her daughter's family reunited. Jixin also rushed up and hugged Qin Chu. Brother-in-law. Jixin. Thank you for taking care of your sister while I was gone, Qin Chu said faintly. We're family, no need to be so polite. Brother-in-law, it's good that you're back. The Su family was shocked to see Qin Chu. They probably thought that since he hadn't been back for 4 years, he probably wouldn't come back. Therefore, they thought that Suyu still had hope. Now that Chin Shu is back, Suyu, Grandpa Su, Uncle Su, Auntie Su, I'm grateful to the Su family for taking in Mian and my son back then. Words can't express my gratitude. If the Chin family needs anything in the future, we won't stand by and do nothing. After that, Chin Shu bowed deeply 3 times to the Su family. I owe you flatter me. Hurry and get up. Master Lord Su could not bear to make things difficult for Chin Shu. Even though he knew that Chin Shu was his grandson's love rival, he still personally helped Chin Shu up. Kid, don't be so polite. We've been treating Mian, Pudding, and Little Bean like our own children. You're being too serious. Lord Su, it's not appropriate for me to say too much about today's situation. I'll definitely pay a visit to thank you another day. Chin Shu's eyes were filled with incomparable sincerity. His gratitude to the Su family wasn't just for show. Mom, I'm sorry for making you worry. Chin Shu turned around and looked at Yang Meirong, who was crying. Yang Meirong excitedly held onto Chin Shu's hand. Kid, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. The family is finally reunited. Sis, this is a good thing. Don't cry. Lady Su picked up a tissue and comforted Yang Meirong. Everyone's emotions were extremely complicated. Then, Chin Shu and Huomin went to the second table. Jiang Xiaowei, Wei Liao, Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran's table. Chin Shu and Gao Ran looked at each other for 3 seconds. And then the 2 of them hugged each other like men reuniting with each other. Gao Ran was a tough man, but even he couldn't help but cry. I really thought you scared us to death. Gao Ran's voice was a little choked up. Aren't we back now? Chin Shu smiled. Zhu Lingling pulled on Huomin's hand and lowered her voice. Mian, go check on Suyu. What about him? Huomin was slightly surprised. Chapter 1792. He was going to propose to you in front of everyone after the twins' performance. He even prepared the ring, but now, I'm afraid he's the saddest one. Even if you don't like him, over the past few years he's been. Before Zhu Lingling could finish, Huomin interrupted her. I understand. I'll go find him now. You guys stay with Chin Shu and the kids. Upon hearing Zhu Lingling mention the proposal, Huomin was extremely surprised. No one had mentioned it to her before, so she had no idea what a proposal was. No wonder she couldn't find Suyu anywhere. He must have been too disappointed. He had prepared the ring and the proposal for so long. But before he could express it, Chin Shu's return shattered all his fantasies. Huomin felt terrible. What she was most afraid of was hurting Suyu unknowingly. So for the past 4 years, she had never given him a glimmer of hope. But now, Huomin whispered into Chin Shu's ear. I'm going out for a bit. You take care of the kids. Okay. Chin Shu understood what Huomin was going to do. Tang Chuan seemed to be angry. When he saw Chin Shu, he got up and left without looking back. Wei Liao, on the other hand, looked calm. He sat next to Jiang Xiaowei and chatted with everyone. Chin Shu's words were the same as before, but in the past 4 years, he seemed to have become gentler. It was a gentleness that hadn't been there before. Perhaps it was because he became a father. Huomin was wearing a long blue dress, so it wasn't very convenient for her to walk. She had to carry it with both hands from time to time. President Hua, where are you going? I'll go with you. Bella was worried and followed him out. Did you see President Su? Oh, I think he went to the back of the boat alone. You don't have to follow me. I'm fine. You can take care of the scene. Call me if you need anything. After that, Huomin lifted her long skirt and walked towards the stern of the ship. When Hua Xiqian saw Huomin walking away alone, he turned and followed him. But before he reached the door and stopped him, President Hua, please wait. What do you mean? Hua Xiqian sneered. Don't I have the freedom to come and go as I please? You can go in and out freely, but this place is restricted. Other than President Su and President Hua, no one is allowed to enter. President Su and President Hua. Oh, I know. Could it be a good place for them to have an affair? Hua Xiqian said viciously. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you think that everyone is as despicable as you? If you dare to insult President Su again, don't blame me for being rude to you. Don't think that just because you're the president of the Hua Corporation, I can't do anything to you. Did the knife wound last time make you forget? And looked at him angrily. The two of them had fought head-on because of Huamin. At first, Huasiqian looked down on Suyu's assistant. Because when he fought Suyu one-on-one, he didn't lose. But that time, he almost lost his life. If he didn't dodge in time, his body would have been pierced by this brat's knife. From then on, he became more cautious. Therefore, in the past 3 years, he didn't have the chance to make a move on Huamin and his daughter. Good job, just you wait. I'll remember you, Huasiqian said ruthlessly. Anytime, and replied with clenched teeth. After Suyu went to the back of the boat, and sealed off the road, and didn't let anyone get close. Huamin was an exception, and had been by Huamin's side for 3 years. So he knew that Huamin wasn't an ungrateful person. She just didn't love Suyu, and already understood Huamin's situation. But at the same time, he felt sorry for President Su's infatuation. When Huamin went over, Suyu was sitting there alone. He seemed to be holding something in his hand, and was in a daze as the sea breeze blew on him. He looked terrible, his hair was slightly messy. Suyu. She called his name and slowly walked over. Chapter 1793. Suyu immediately hid the brocade box behind him. Then he stood up. Why are you here? Just now, did Pudding and Little Bean sing well? Yes, they did. Did Pudding or Little Bean sing better? Huamin asked with a smile. Both. Whoa, that's a very official answer. It has to be official. Otherwise, if I say one of them, wouldn't I offend the other? Suyu chuckled. He had been with twins for 3 years. He knew the temperament of the two little ones too well. Ever since the two of them could talk. The question that Suyu had been asked the most was, handsome Su, who's prettier? If Suyu said that they were both beautiful, they would obviously be dissatisfied. Must they compete to see who's better? If one of them was beautiful, the other would definitely be angry. So, how could Suyu do something to offend them? Later he thought of a way. When he was asked who was prettier, he would directly say that he thought Huamin was prettier. The two little guys were immediately speechless. Suyu, thank you for tonight's banquet. You've prepared for so long. Thank you for your hard work. Huamin sincerely thanked Suyu. Don't be so polite. In the past few years, the word you've said the most to me is thank you. I've heard it so many times that my ears are going to grow calluses. What is that behind you? Huamin tilted his head and asked. No, nothing. Suyu was a little flustered and hid behind him. Huamin walked over and immediately snatched it from behind him when he wasn't paying attention. It was an exquisite brocade box. Mian. Suyu wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Huamin had already opened the brocade box. Wow, what a beautiful diamond ring. Most importantly, it's such a big diamond, you're so rich. Huamian exclaimed with a smile. Suyu smiled awkwardly, but didn't say anything. This ring is so beautiful. I think it will definitely find its owner. Mian. Suyu looked like he wanted to say something, but Huamin didn't give him a chance to speak. Suyu, I don't want to say too much about the Su family's kindness to me, because it's not something that can be expressed with words. I've seen everything that you've done for me, Huamin, and Little Bean, and I'm not an ungrateful person. I won't turn a blind eye to everything that you've done for me, but I hope you understand one thing. Even if Qin Chu didn't come back, we still wouldn't be together. Some things are destined from the beginning. I don't want to lie to you, and I don't want to choose to be with you out of gratitude and sympathy. That would be irresponsible and disrespectful to you. And you deserve a better woman by your side. The powerful Lord Su doesn't need pity and charity. Maybe other people will say, look, Qin Chu came back. So Huamin immediately kicked Suyu away. But the truth is, that's not the case. I never wanted to kick you away as soon as Qin Chu came back. Our relationship will be the same in the future, and nothing will change just because Qin Chu came back. I don't want to say anything to brush you off, and I don't want to ask you to be my sister or my brother. And I definitely won't emphasize that we'll be friends forever. You're already a very close family member to me. You're an important person in my life. There's something I want to say that might make you sad, but I still want to say that I really love Qin Chu. He's the only man I've ever loved. I know. Suyu smiled bitterly. And you're a very important man to me, whether it's a friend or a family member. Anyways, no matter what, I will never abandon you. I won't force you to find another woman, and then dump you to ease my mind. I just think that you're such a good person, and deserve someone better. Someone who is completely yours. Although she hasn't appeared yet, I believe that you'll find her. Keep the ring. I hope that one day, you'll be able to give it to her. Hwamin handed the ring to Suyu. Mion, if Chin-Chu didn't come back today and I proposed to you in front of everyone, would you have said yes? It's been 3 years, don't you like me even a little bit? Suyu didn't want to give up. He didn't have time to express his feelings, so he didn't know the answer. He knew that Hwamin never lied, so he really wanted to know the answer. Chapter 1794. After hearing Suyu's words, Hwamin remained silent for 3 seconds. Then she slowly said, although it's a little cruel to tell the truth, the cruel truth is much more realistic than a white lie. I'm sorry, Suyu, I've never liked you. I've never liked you. Even if Chin-Chu doesn't come back and never comes back, I won't marry someone else. It's not because you're not good enough. It's because my heart is already filled with Chin-Chu. I don't have any space left for you. Hwamin knew that if she said this, Suyu would be very sad. But since things had already come to this point, she might as well say it directly, so that he wouldn't have any more hope. Okay, I understand. Suyu tried his best to suppress his emotions. He didn't let his tears fall. Then, he put the brocade box into his pocket without leaving a trace. He didn't want to make things difficult for Hwamin anymore. Thank you, Hwamin. Thank you for never lying to me. Thank you for telling me the truth. After saying this, Suyu turned around. Suyu. Hwamin didn't finish her sentence. Suyu smiled with tears in his eyes. We're still the same. Nothing will change just because Chin-Chu came back. After hearing this, Hwamin smiled with relief. She really didn't want to awkwardly distance herself from Suyu just because Chin-Chu came back. For Hwamin was the one who saved Suyu. He was like family to her. Suyu was her savior, and he was like family to her. She tossed out love and family. It was a relationship that she could never let go of. After explaining everything to Suyu, Hwamin felt a little sad. She actually cared a lot about Suyu. However, love was never about pity. It was about pity and sympathy. Suyu was a man who was like an emperor, and had a strong self-esteem. He didn't need Hwamin to pity him. On the contrary, Hwamin hoped that a man as outstanding as Suyu deserved a better and more complete love. Instead of being entangled with her in a 3-person world, a short pain is better than a long pain. Hwamin had always hoped that Suyu would be able to accept the pain and let go of everything. When Hwamin went back, he sat with Chin-Chu at the dinner table and had dinner with his family and friends. Suyu returned to his room in the first-class cabin and locked himself up. Hwamin's words just now seemed to have dealt a huge blow to him. He knew that he had been too greedy. From the very beginning, Hwamin had rejected his feelings for Hwamin. Hwamion had never given him any hope. It was his own wishful thinking that there would be a chance. It turned out that Hwamin had never liked him. Not even a little bit. Suyu smiled bitterly. He took out a cigarette and put it in his mouth. Then he sat on the luxurious leather sofa and looked at the sea outside the glass window. Inside the hall, Pudding climbed down from Hwamin's arms. Mommy, I'm going out for a while. Where are you going? Hwamin was surprised. It's a secret. Then Pudding climbed down and ran away. Hey. Before Hwamin could say anything, she was gone. At this time, the foodie little bean put down the tiramisu cake in her hand and climbed down from Chin-Chu's arms. Daddy, sorry. I'll leave you for a moment, Little Bean said in a cute voice, trying to coax Chin-Chu. To be honest, Chin-Chu wasn't used to the way these 2 little adults talked. They were so mature. Chapter 1795. Little Bean, where are you going? Chin-Chu looked at his daughter gently and asked. Pudding is sneaking around behind my back. She's up to no good. I'm going to keep an eye on her. Bye. Then she ran toward Pudding's direction. Little Bean. Hwamin yelled. President Hua, don't worry. I'll follow them. And appeared behind Hwamin out of nowhere. He glanced at Chin-Chu's face, and then glanced at Hwamin. Okay. Follow them. Don't cause any trouble. Within a round, Hwamion wasn't worried about their safety. She was only worried that the two scheming kids would cause trouble. Mommy, where did Pudding and Little Bean go? Wei Yinshu asked Jiang Xiaowei. They went out to play. Do you want to go? No. Wei Yinshu refused without hesitation. Why not? Aren't they your good friends? Huomin teased Wei Yinshu. They're so scary. They keep asking me who's prettier. I can't say they're both prettier. If I say one of them is prettier, the other one will beat me up. Wei Yinshu pouted and complained. Everyone laughed when they heard this. Children's words carried no harm. Things between children were always so cute and adorable. Pudding and Little Bean walked around, but didn't find anything. Sis, you're looking for Handsome Sue, right? Little Bean asked as she ate a lollipop. Do I need you to tell me? Isn't it obvious? Everyone on Earth knows it, okay? Pudding said proudly. Then why don't you ask Uncle An? Why do you have to look for him yourself? It's so troublesome. What do you know? It's more sincere to look for him myself. Pudding rolled her eyes at Little Bean, not wanting to talk to the foodie. Finally, the two little guys stood outside Suyu's door. I'm telling you, let's go in one by one. Otherwise, Handsome Sue won't know who to listen to. I'll go in first. You can talk after I finish. Pudding turned around and warned. Little Bean licked her lollipop unhappily. Why are you going in first? Because I'm your elder sister. So what if she's an elder sister? Handsome Sue won't like you just because you're an older sister. Shut up. If you say one more word, I'll throw you into the sea to feed the fish. I don't even know why you're following us. You should have just gone to Daddy and whined to him. Daddy is Daddy. How can he be compared to Handsome Sue? When we grow up, we're going to marry Handsome Sue, not Daddy. Little Bean said seriously. At this moment, Xiaowen, who was protecting the twins, was dumbfounded. Heavens, this is really a conversation between a pair of 3-year-old children. It was terrifying, wasn't it? In the end, Pudding defeated Little Bean. She had the right to see Handsome Sue first. What was cute was that before Pudding went in, she even tidied up her slightly messy hair and dress. Then he pretended to knock on the door. Give me some peace and quiet. Don't come in, Suyu said coldly. Handsome Sue, it's me. Pudding changed her usual arrogant tone and said in a childish voice. Suyu froze slightly. Then he turned his head. The moment he saw the little girl, his eyes became gentle. Pudding, why are you here? I've been waiting in the living room for a long time. I was worried about you when you didn't come for dinner, Pudding said as she walked over. Then, she sat down on the sofa beside Suyu like a little adult. Suyu was afraid that the smoke would affect the child, so he immediately put out his cigarette. To his surprise, Pudding said seriously, if you're in a bad mood, you can continue smoking. I don't mind. So you didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm not smoking. I can't let my little princess breathe secondhand smoke. Suyu smiled and patted Pudding's head. Where's Little Bean? Why are you here alone? I asked her to wait at the door because I want to talk to you alone. You want to talk to me alone? Suyu was speechless and couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 1796. Was this really a 3-year-old child? Why did she make it sound so grand? Yes. Would you say no? Pudding looked at Suyu with her adorable eyes. Suyu's heart almost melted. In the past 3 years, he loved the twins as much as he loved their biological father. Of course not. It's my honor to have Pudding talk to me. Suyu smiled. Then I'm going to say it. Okay. Suyu nodded gently. First of all, you might not like what I'm going to say, but I have to say it. You know that my daddy's back, right? Pudding asked. Yeah, I know. It's been 3 years, and this is the first time I've seen him. To be honest, I have mixed feelings. I won't comment on Daddy, but in the past 3 years, this is the first time I've seen Mommy so happy. She's a very quiet person. She's always calm and collected. But today, I saw excitement, surprise, and the joy and shyness of a little girl on her face. I think she really loves Daddy. Suyu was a little disappointed when he heard what the kid said, but he still nodded and agreed with Pudding. You're right, your mommy really loves your daddy. Handsome Sue loves mommy so much. Now that daddy's back, you're probably the saddest person in the world. But I want to say that you're not unloved. I'll love you just like before. I love daddy too. Thank you, Pudding. Suyu bent down and kissed Pudding's slightly curly hair. Suyu didn't expect this arrogant little princess to be so adorable. She really warmed his heart. Let me finish. What I mean is, my love for Daddy is like a daughter's love for her father. But my love for you is different, Pudding said seriously. How is it different? Suyu smiled. When I grow up, I'm going to marry handsome Su, Pudding said slowly. Pfft. Suyu almost spat out his saliva. What's with that expression? Pudding crossed her arms in front of her chest, clearly unhappy. Pudding, do you know what marriage means? Of course. Don't underestimate my intelligence. I'm not looking down on your intelligence. I just think that you're still a child and don't understand that kind of thing. That's my problem. Your problem is whether you'll marry me or not, Pudding said proudly. Pudding, when you grow up, even if 20 years from now, you'll be 23 years old, and I'll be 50 years old. This is the biggest joke in the world. Okay, it's too stressful for you to talk about this right now. I'll take it slow. There's no rush. Pudding sighed slightly. Suyu was completely dumbfounded. Anyway, don't be sad. Mommy doesn't know how good you are, but I do. Don't think too much. Then, she stood up and sat on the sofa with her arms around his neck. She gently kissed him on the cheek. She didn't forget to secretly remind him. When Pudding comes in, ignore her no matter what she says. She's too undisciplined and not suitable for you. I. Suyu was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. Pudding then proudly walked out of the room with her head held high. It's your turn. But I don't think you stand a chance. Just give up. Handsome Su won't fall in love with a foodie. After all, he likes smart and calm girls like Mommy. I'm not. Humph. Don't be so smug. We don't know who handsome Su will like. Pudding was obviously not convinced. Pudding swaggered into the room. As soon as she stepped into the room, she spread her wings and rushed over. She directly jumped into Suyu's arms. Handsome Su. Where did you go? I missed you so much. Playing the pig to eat the tiger and acting cute and obedient was what second brother was best at. Suyu felt the same way about them. He picked up Pudding and kissed her forehead. Good girl, Pudding. Uncle Su is fine. He's just too tired, so he's resting in the room. Handsome Su, are you in a bad mood? Is it because of my dad's sudden return? Pudding held Suyu's face and asked in all seriousness. Suyu, on the other hand, felt really awkward. What was going on? Chapter 1797. It's not that. Don't overthink it, little bean. Suyu comforted her. Liar. It's because of that. Don't be embarrassed. I know you. Little bean patted Suyu's shoulder like an adult. Suyu. Handsome Su. Yeah. Who's prettier, me or Pudding? Suyu. Hearing Little Bean's words, Suyu felt a headache coming on. Ever since the two sisters could speak, they had asked this question hundreds of times. Was there really a need to answer? What? Is it hard to answer? Little Bean pressed. No. Little Bean. You're both pretty because you look exactly the same. You're twins. We're obviously different. Don't you think I have a better temperament than Pudding? Suyu chuckled. Did Little Bean have to be so cute? Did she really know what temperament was at such a young age? Are you laughing at me? Little Bean pouted. No. I mean, Little Bean, you're right. You have a better temperament. Really? Little Bean was delighted. Really? Handsome Su. You're so nice. Don't be sad, okay? I'll give you my candy. Then, before Suyu could say anything, Little Bean took out her lollipop and stuffed it into Suyu's mouth. Suyu froze on the spot. He really wanted to say that there was saliva on the lollipop. But, is it good? Little Bean looked innocent and continued to act cute. It's good. Suyu braced himself and didn't dare to say that it wasn't good. Otherwise, this little princess wouldn't let him go. Good boy. Mommy said. No matter how sad something is, it's better to eat a candy. Remember that life is always sweet. Did your mom say that or you? Suyu didn't believe her. What does it matter? It's the same anyway. Suyu. Okay, Little Bean, you're right. I don't know what to say. Then let's go out together, okay? The banquet is about to end. I don't want you to miss the last Easter egg. Little Bean held Suyu's hand and said in a childish voice. The Easter egg for Pudding and Little Bean's third birthday was carefully arranged by Suyu. There were many fireworks, all of which were meticulously custom-made by him. There were all sorts of Disney designs, and they were all of the twins' favorite cartoon characters. It would definitely be beautiful and spectacular on the cruise ship. Although Suyu was in a bad mood, he couldn't resist Little Bean's persuasion. In the end, he held her hand and walked out. Seeing this, Pudding rushed up and grabbed Suyu's other hand. Just like that, Suyu held her two chubby little hands and stood on the deck of the cruise ship, looking at the sky full of fireworks. It was as if everything was a dream. Oh, so beautiful. She's so pretty. Handsome Sue, you're so romantic. The twins seemed to like this gift very much. They couldn't stop marveling at the fireworks. After the fireworks show, the guests left the cruise ship one after another. As soon as Suyu got into his black Lamborghini, he saw and open the door and sit down in the passenger seat. President Sue, I'll go back with you. And, what are you doing here? Suyu was surprised. President Hua's husband is back. I don't think I'll be needed in the future. How can that be? As long as Huasiqian isn't dead, Mian is still in danger. You should follow her for now. Unless she says it's not convenient for her, you can always protect her. Suyu's attitude was very firm. I'll go back and protect President Hua. What about you? What are you going to do? And felt bad for his boss. Chapter 1798. I'm fine. Huasiqian isn't after me. Don't worry. Then all right. And didn't want to give up, but he followed Suyu's orders and went back to Huamin's place. He followed the family. Qin Chu's return turned Huamin from a strong woman into a shy girl. Inside the big Mercedes-Benz, Huamin held onto Qin Chu's arm tightly, as if she was afraid that he would disappear if she let go. Mommy, Daddy won't run away. Is it okay for you to hold on to him so tightly? Pudding couldn't help but complain as she chewed on potato chips. Qin Chu smiled and pinched Pudding's cheek. Mommy misses Daddy. Daddy, do you miss Mommy and us? Of course. Then why did you take so long to come back to see us? Pudding's careless words made Qin Chu fall silent. Pudding looked at Qin Chu and said, Daddy, you came back just in time. Otherwise, Mommy would have been taken away by handsome Sue. Ahem. Pudding, what are you talking about? Huamin coughed dryly. Sometimes, she wondered if she really gave birth to these two little guys. Why were they so scary? Mommy won't be taken away. Because Daddy knows that Mommy only has Daddy in her heart. So Daddy, you're so confident and arrogant. I'm like you in this aspect, Pudding said proudly. Pudding didn't want to be outdone. Daddy, my IQ is like yours. Can the two of you stop talking? Can you give us some quiet time alone? Huamin couldn't take it anymore. It took them more than an hour to arrive at South Hill Manor. It was already 10 p.m. when they got home. The entire manor was brightly lit. Ever since Huamin and the kids moved back, the house was filled with warmth. Afraid that they would be lonely, Jixin and Yang Meirong also lived here. Qin Chu looked at his home that he hadn't seen for a long time, and something seemed to flow slowly through his eyes. Uncle Li burst into tears when he saw Qin Chu. Sir you. Uncle Li, I'm back. Qin Chu smiled faintly. Aya. That's great, that's great. Our family is finally reunited. Uncle Li couldn't help but wipe his tears. He seemed very excited. Sir, have you eaten? I've already eaten. You don't have to work anymore. It's late, you guys should go and rest. Mom, help me put them to sleep. I need to talk to Qin Chu alone. Huamin instructed his mother. Yang Meirong nodded and held the twins' hands. Come, let's go to bed. Pudding looked at Huamin and Qin Chu meaningfully. So, are you guys going to leave us alone and enjoy some alone time? So, are we going to have a little brother soon? Little Bean added. Huamin was speechless. Qin Chu was speechless. The twins' words struck a chord. Ahem. You two should go to bed. Don't talk nonsense here. I really have to give up. I should talk to your Chinese teacher tomorrow. There's obviously something wrong with her logic. What kind of nonsense is she teaching? Huamin was about to go crazy. The good thing was that there were no outsiders at home. If someone heard this, how embarrassing would that be? Those who didn't know would think that she had been horny for the past 3 years. As soon as Qin Chu came back, he dragged her to bed. Huamin blushed at the thought of her daughter's dirty words. Chapter 1799. Yang Meirong took the twins back to their room to rest. Jixin knew that his sister and brother-in-law had a lot to talk about, so he went back to his room early. Qin Chu and Huamin held hands and slowly walked up to the second floor. They walked into the master bedroom that they had always lived in. As soon as they opened the door and walked in, Huamin didn't even wait for Huamin to stand still. Qin Chu pressed her against the wall and then leaned down. What followed was an overwhelming kiss. Like a storm, it engulfed Huamin's entire body. She wasn't even ready yet. Qin Chu didn't let go of her until her entire body was limp and weak. He looked at her delicate and pretty face at such a close distance. It felt as unreal as a dream. Qin Chu reached out his hand and gently stroked her silky hair. Then he moved his hand down to her face. Then he moved his hand down to her cool and soft lips. He couldn't get enough of her. Mian, it's been 4 years. 1,460 days and nights. There's not a day that I haven't missed you. Me too. Huamin looked at Qin Chu, her eyes as gentle as spring water. If she could, she wanted time to stop at this moment forever. I'm sorry. I made you suffer these past 4 years. It's all my fault. Qin Chu apologized sincerely. No, it's not your fault. I was too reckless and let Rick kidnap you onto the plane. Then the plane crashed. You don't know how scared I was. I blamed myself. If I didn't selfishly think that it was for your own good, that tragedy wouldn't have happened. I never hated you. I only hated myself. Huamin was already sobbing. Qin Chu raised his hand and gently wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Don't cry. I'm back now, right? Even though we've been apart for so long, God has been kind to me and allowed me to come back alive to see you guys. Mian, do you know? I'm actually really scared. What are you afraid of? Huamin asked softly. I'm afraid. No matter how sincere my apologies are, and how beautiful our memories are, they can't compare to the 4 years of Suyu's company. I don't have confidence in myself. I wasn't even by your side when you were in your most difficult times. When you were pregnant and had a baby. I'm afraid that you've already left me. Would I? Do you have so little confidence in me? Huamin smiled bitterly. If she had fallen in love with someone else, would she have waited for 4 years? She had probably already thrown herself into Suyu's arms, right? The problem was, if he changed his mind so easily, would Huamin still be Huamin? She was the woman Qin Chu had loved since he was young. Was she the woman Suyu fell in love with at first sight and could never forget? It's not that I don't have confidence in you. It's that I don't have confidence in myself. I'm no longer perfect. My legs might never recover. And in the future, holding you might even be an extravagant wish. Qin Chu looked down slightly. His eyes were filled with extreme lack of confidence. Actually, he should have been patient enough to find a better treatment plan and come back after he recovered. However, he couldn't take it anymore, especially in the past year. Every night he was tormented. Almost every night, he dreamed of Huamin and his daughters. He wanted to come back as if he was possessed. So even though he knew that this wasn't the best time to come back, he still came back. He thought that if she was already with Suyu, then he would leave without saying a word. He would just take one look at her. If she was still the same person, then he had greedy thoughts. Could they still be the same as before? He knew that his thoughts were selfish, but people would always have a selfish side because of the person they loved. Huamin slowly got up, squatted on the ground, and gently helped Qin Chu roll up his pants. Mian, don't. Qin Chu wanted to stop her. Let me see your legs, Huamin said as she ignored Qin Chu's attempts to stop her and rolled up his pants. Upon seeing the shocking wound, Huamin's tears immediately fell, like a broken string of pearls. She couldn't control herself and cried. Chapter 1800. Around Qin Chu's right kneecap, there were shocking scars. No wonder he walked a little slower than usual. It must have been a serious injury. Huamin cried as she reached out her hand and gently touched it. How many surgeries did you have to leave scars like this? Huamin's voice was hoarse. Not many. I only had 4 surgeries, but the results weren't ideal. There are 7 steel nails inside. The kneecap isn't easy to deal with because it can't be regenerated. So we can only try using the latest technology. But right now, Even if the United States uses the most economical technology in the world, I'm still not confident. I don't have any clinical experience, so I'm considered the first batch of lab rats. After speaking, Qin Shu smiled casually. He didn't want Huamin to worry too much, so he tried to make himself sound casual. However, he didn't know that Huamin's heart was bleeding at this moment. She was also a medical student, so no matter how simple and plain Qin Shu's description was, she could still feel the pain. He had 4 surgeries to repair his kneecap, but they all failed in the end, and he had to regenerate his kneecap before the technology was mature. What kind of process was this? Most importantly, Qin Shu had undergone such a major surgery, but it didn't affect his ability to walk. Other than being a little slower than usual, she really couldn't tell what kind of perseverance he had to be able to endure so many difficult years. Mian, don't cry. I'll be heartbroken. Qin Shu couldn't stand seeing Huamin cry. Before, every time Huamin got into trouble or made a mistake, Qin Shu would always take pity on him. As soon as Huamin pretended to be pitiful and cried, Qin Shu would immediately be defeated. It must have hurt a lot. Huamin gently touched the scar, sobbing. It doesn't hurt anymore. It's all in the past. Did you injure yourself in the plane crash? Huamian looked up. Yeah. I want to kill Huasiqian. In an instant, Huamin seemed to have suffered a great blow. He stood up, turned around, and was about to run. However, Qin Shu pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. Mian, don't be impulsive. I'm going to kill that bastard. Why can't he live peacefully after doing all these bad things? How unfair is God? Why can't good people be rewarded? Huamin cried. Qin Shu gently whispered in her ear. Huasiqian, I'll deal with him slowly. This is what a man should do. I can't let you shoulder everything for me anymore. You've worked too hard these past 4 years. No matter what happens in the future, I'll be there for you. Just stand behind me. Hubby. Huamin raised her head and looked at Qin Shu. It really doesn't hurt anymore. Dummy, don't cry anymore, don't worry anymore. Hubby. I'll find a way to cure your leg. I'll make sure it fully recovers. Huamin made up her mind. Yeah, I believe you. My wife is a genius doctor after all. Upon hearing this, Huamin smiled through her tears. After showering, the two of them quietly lay on the bed. Huamin laid on Qin Shu's chest. She quietly listened to his heartbeat and felt at ease. How long had it been since she felt this safe? Tell me about the day of the plane crash. What happened that day? Huamin asked softly. Chapter 1801. Yeah, that day, Rick escorted me onto the plane in the middle of the night. The plane was arranged by Lino, and the people on the plane were all his men. At first, I didn't suspect anything, but after flying for a while, one of the bodyguards poured me a glass of water. Even though the water didn't look like anything wrong, we're all medical students, so we're very sensitive to smells. I smelled a faint fragrance in the water. Something felt off, so I didn't really drink it. I pretended to drink it and pretended to faint. Then, I overheard the conversation between 2 of them. That was when I realized that they'd been bribed by Huasiqian. They were going to hijack the plane and kill me. Unfortunately, I wasn't fooled. During the fight, I damaged parts of the plane. When the plane crashed, I took a parachute and jumped down, but it was the deep ocean. I floated for a long time. In the end, I was washed ashore. My right kneecap got stuck in the coral reef at the bottom of the ocean. The injury was very serious, and the local fishermen didn't have any advanced medicine or medical equipment. So I stayed in the fishing village for 3 days before leaving. At that time, a lot of people were looking for me, so I couldn't contact you. Huasiqian definitely wouldn't let go of me. So I secretly returned to the States. Then, I went to Seattle to hide my whereabouts. So, you didn't come back for the past few years. Other than the injury on your leg, the other reason you didn't come back was to investigate Huasiqian's power, right? Yes. Did you find anything? Huamin was curious. Yeah, I found a very important clue. There's a reason why Huasiqian is so arrogant. But the good thing is that we've figured out everything. Knowing your enemy is 100 battles. From now on, I won't let him hurt a single hair on my family. Huasiqian is no longer a surprise. The real worry isn't him. Then who is it? It's Ian. Who's Ian? Huamin was surprised. Speaking of Ian, he's related to you somehow. Qin Shu glanced at Huamin. With me? Huamin was a little confused. This matter is related to your background. After speaking, Qin Shu raised his hand and gently stroked Huamin's hair. For years ago, when I was taken away by the police, I was going to tell you about your family background. I didn't think that it would be 4 years since we last met. It's okay. It's not too late to tell me now. I just want to hear you say it. Huamin held Qin Shu's hand tightly and pressed her face against his chest like a spoiled child. Mian, your father is Professor Lu Jiwen. Lu Jiwen? Could it be? Huamin's face was full of shock. That's him. Qin Shu seemed to know what Huamin was going to say. Oh my God. The famous chemistry genius Professor Lu. The old man who doesn't even want to accept the Nobel Prize in chemistry. The scholar who's rumored to be the #1 chemistry genius in 100 years. He's my father? Huamin had never studied abroad, however, because of her passion for chemistry and medicine. She had read many books and theses about Professor Lu. She was no stranger to his achievements. She always thought that he was a godlike figure. He was too far away from her. She never thought that Qin Shu would tell her that he was her biological father. How shocking was this? If it wasn't Qin Shu who said this, she wouldn't believe it even if she was beaten to death. However, she knew that Qin Shu would never lie, let alone joke about something like this. Chapter 1802. Honey, if Professor Lu is my father, then Dr. Linya. Yeah, she's your biological mother. Oh my God. I'm crazy. Huamian's idol in her life wasn't a superstar, a Hollywood best actor, or a leader in politics. When she was studying medicine, she idolized Linya, a top medical doctor, who was once known as the deadliest doctor in the world. It was said that Dr. Linya was the pride of the Chinese. She had developed many drugs to treat allergies and made great contributions to the medical industry. However, it was said that Dr. Linya mysteriously disappeared 16 years ago. No one knew where she was or if she was dead or alive. Dr. Lin and Professor Lu had become legendary figures and mysteries. Now that Qin Shu mentioned them and said they were her biological parents, Huamin thought it was ridiculous. She was as shocked as if someone told her she was the princess of a Middle Eastern country. Then other than them, do I have any other relatives? Huamin asked. Yes, you have a younger sister. Younger sister? Yeah. Do you remember the jade gourd you received during Chinese New Year? Yes. That's the gift she gave you. She knows me. Huamin was overjoyed. Of course. Not only does she know you, but she also cares about you. She even snuck into the city to see you several times. She even walked past you and stole your work ID. Huamin froze for a second, and then remembered one time when he was working at South Side. He lost his work ID for no reason. Now that he thought about it, it was his younger sister who did it. Younger sister? Oh my God, I have a younger sister? Hearing that he had a younger sister, Huamin was extremely excited. Her name is Lu Yan. She's 21 years old. She's very pretty and fierce. Fierce? Huamin froze again. She has another identity. She's the leader of a world-famous mercenary group. Her code name is Second Mississippi. Mercenary group? She is a mercenary? Qin Shu took a deep look at Huamin and explained calmly. Lu Yan, female, 21 years old, born in California. She moved to Hong Kong when she was 3 years old. Due to her extraordinary talent, she was accepted into the West Point Military Academy at the age of 15. She stayed at West Point for 3 years and graduated early. Then, she picked a few outstanding alumni and quickly formed a mercenary group. She took on countless big jobs and is worth tens of billions. She squandered money like it was water, and her marksmanship was accurate. Are you saying that my sister is a serial killer? Huamin found it hard to accept. Or maybe she's used to being hunted down. You probably don't know, but Professor Lu's situation is extremely awkward right now. Because he was framed by criminals, he was suspected by the National Security Agency. He was also tracked by the FBI, and he was even targeted by terrorists who wanted him to create biochemical weapons to threaten the entire human race. So, Your father and sister have been living a homeless life for years. Being hunted down is a common occurrence. So they didn't come looking for me? Huomin finally understood. Qinshu nodded. I think your father doesn't want you to live like that. So he'd rather not disturb you and watch you live a peaceful and happy life. Then, are they okay now? What about my mother? Lu Yen didn't mention Dr. Linya, and I've never met Professor Lu, so I'm not sure. You mean you've met my sister? Huomin understood the meaning behind Qinshu's words. I did. 3 years ago, your sister's friend was injured and shot. The surgery was very difficult, so she went to Seattle to find me. I went to Russia to perform the surgery for that person, and I met Lu Yen in Moscow. Then what does she look like? Huomin asked Qinshu curiously like a little girl. Chapter 1803. She's very lively, arrogant, and domineering. She misses you too. Upon hearing this, Huomin felt an indescribable mix of emotions. It turned out that she still had family in this world. They had always been there, and they even knew about her existence. How miraculous was this? Mian. Yeah? Huomin looked up. I'll let you see Lu Yen and the professor, but now isn't the right time. This is what I'm going to tell you next. I want to tell you why Huosiqian was able to threaten me into divorcing you. Yeah, go ahead. Huomin knew that Qinshu was very calm and steady, so he must have his reasons for saying this. The leader of the world's top terrorist organization, IOS, is Ian. He's violent and murderous, and he's very ambitious. All these years he's been creating violence and chaos, and he's trying to make a fortune out of it. He's always wanted to capture Professor Lu, because he's said to have developed a biochemical weapon that can kill people invisibly. He can invade a country without using any military forces. That's why he's been chasing after your father all these years. Your sister learned how to protect herself at a young age and traveled around the world on her own. Ian's family is very powerful, and his younger brother, Nalo, is the godfather of Germany's biggest mafia. The reason Huosiqian knows so much is because during the 6 years he was in Germany, he was very close to Nalo and had some contact with Ian. You're saying Huosiqian knows that psychoterrorist? Huomin was shocked. Not only do they know each other, they have a very close relationship. Otherwise, how would he know about your identity? But I'm very grateful to Huosiqian. Grateful to him? Hearing Qinshu's words, Huomin was completely confused. Yes, I really want to thank him. If he didn't keep it a secret, your identity would have been exposed a long time ago. Do you know that Ian has been investigating your whereabouts all these years? Investigating me? He knows about my existence? Huomin was dumbfounded again. He felt that this matter involved a lot of people. He knows that the professor has a daughter in China, but he hasn't been able to find her. So, I think that Huosiqian must have done something. Otherwise, with Ian's efficiency, he wouldn't have delayed it until now. Won't Huosiqian suspect him for doing this? That's why he's so powerful. His relationship with those people isn't that simple. Anyway, the professor and Lu Yin didn't dare to come to you, because they were afraid that your identity would be exposed. Unlike Lu Yen, you're not the kind of person who lives on the edge of a knife. Once your identity is exposed, you'll be in great danger. So that's how it is. I finally understand now. The doubts that had been in his heart all this time were finally revealed. Back in the day, Huosiqian had threatened Qinshu because of this. As long as Qinshu revealed Huomin to Ian, Huosiqian would be in trouble. Then, Huomian was basically dead. No wonder Qinshu was so scared. But don't worry. After I deal with Huosiqian, I'll think of a way to deal with Ian. Remember, in this world, I won't let anyone hurt or threaten you. I'll definitely reunite you with the professor and fulfill your wish. Qinshu said seriously, word for word. Chapter 1804. Huomin felt tears welling up in her eyes. All these years, Qinshu was the only one who would always put himself in her shoes and think for her. He treated her life like it was the most important thing in the world. Over the years, Qinshu would try his best to make Huomin's dreams come true. When she was young, she wanted to study medicine. In the end, Qinshu went abroad to study medicine for 7 years. She said she wanted to find her family. Qin Chu lost a lot of his men in Dongtao town and wanted to find the truth for her. She said she wanted to keep her marriage a secret, so he didn't tell anyone. She said she wanted to work at South Side after marriage, so he asked Rick to keep an eye on Huomin and protect her. As long as Huomin wanted something, Qin Chu would try his best to do it for her. Mr. Qin was never good with words, but he would always use his actions to prove how much he loved her. This was Qin Chu, the man Huomin loved deeply for many years. When they were young, he was calm and collected. He didn't show his emotions on his face, and always had his own ideas. About Professor Luile. Honey, let's not talk about them. I know they're not in danger, so I'm not worried anymore. You just came back, so get some sleep. Don't be so tired. So, madam, are you inviting me? Qin Chu looked at her gently. Huomin's face immediately turned red. Honey, your face is so red. Are you thinking the wrong thing? What? I'm not. Don't measure the heart of a gentleman with your own yardstick. Huomin was furious that Qin Chu saw right through her. She laid on top of Qin Chu and played around with him. Qin Chu grabbed Huomin's hands with both hands and flipped her over. Their eyes met. At such a close distance, their eyelashes were almost touching each other. Huomin felt her heart race. It was as if she had returned to the time when they first got married. Even though, I can't wait to eat you up. But, I want to hug you for the whole night. Then Qin Chu gently kissed Huomin's forehead. Good night, honey. Good night, honey. Huomin's heart was filled with warmth. She nestled in Qin Chu's arms, tightly holding his hand, and then fell asleep. Midnight, Huomian was extremely thirsty. She opened her eyes and was about to get some water when she was startled. She noticed that Qin Chu was sitting beside her, quietly watching her. Why aren't you asleep? I don't, silly. You'll have time every day. Go to sleep. Huomin pulled Qin Chu onto the bed and pressed him against her. Qin Chu tightly held onto Huomin's hand. I'm going to get some water. I'll get it for you. Then Qin Chu got up, picked up a glass of water from the coffee table, and brought it to Huomin. He watched as Huomin drank it all in one gulp. Then, he took out a tissue and wiped the corner of her mouth. I'm going back to sleep. I'm so sleepy, Huomin groggily said. Okay, go back to sleep. Huomin groggily lay down and fell asleep again. In her dream, she dreamt that she and Qin Chu went back to their youth and shared some sweet memories in school. The corners of her mouth began to curl up. Mian, you don't know how much I miss you. 11 years, 11 whole years have passed. We've missed so much. I should have been with you. Qin Chu looked at Huomin tenderly. No matter how tired he was, he couldn't bear to close his eyes. He sat beside her, quietly guarding her. In the next room, on a spacious pink princess bed. After the two little guys tricked their grandma into leaving, they began chatting. Pudding, what did you say to handsome Sue behind my back today? Little Bean turned her head and asked her sister. Chapter 1805. What are you talking about? Do you think I'll tell you? Come on, don't be so naive, Pudding said in disdain. You're so annoying. There are so many men in the world. Why are you trying to steal handsome Sue from me? We're sisters, Pudding pouted, feeling very unhappy. Pudding turned her head and looked at Pudding. Are you kidding me? Chin Mumu. I should be the one saying that. I met handsome Sue first. Nonsense. We're twins. We were born together. So, we met handsome Sue together, Pudding emphasized. Come on, use your pig brain. I'm the older one. I was born a few seconds before you, okay? Pudding. What's so great about being born a few seconds before me? We don't even know who handsome Sue likes. But seriously, let's stop arguing. I think Daddy's return this time is a big blow to handsome Sue. Pudding lowered her eyelashes, looking very worried. Yeah, Daddy, why did you come back now? Why didn't you come back earlier or later? It's like you're going against handsome Sue. If Daddy didn't come back, handsome Sue would have proposed to Mommy today. So we almost had to call handsome Sue Daddy. Oh my God, I can't accept this. Pudding was so scared that she threw the QQ candy she was eating to the ground. It didn't work out, right? So, Daddy's return is a good thing for us, Pudding analyzed. Pudding nodded. You're right. At least handsome Sue won't miss Mommy anymore. But handsome Su will be in a bad mood for a few days. Although I didn't see him cry, he must be very heartbroken. Pudding thought gloomily. It's okay. I can take him to eat Coke burgers. There's nothing a burger can't solve. If theirs, we'll eat too. Pudding said happily. You only know how to eat. I really have to hand it to you. I'm eating and having a crush on handsome Su at the same time. Haha. I don't want to talk to you. Don't tell people you're from the Chin family. You'll lose fans. Pudding had always felt that Little Bean's IQ was obviously lower than hers, Mommy and Daddy. Little Bean was dragging down the whole family's IQ. Who wants to talk to you? You make it sound like I can live another 100 years if I talk to you. Little Bean rolled her eyes at Pudding. The conversation between the two princesses came to an end. After Wei Liao and his family returned home, they didn't feel sleepy at all. Son, you go back first. I have something to say to your mother. Wei Liao looked at Wei Yinchu. Do you want to have sex with your mother? Wei Liao was speechless. Jiang Xiaowei. Where did you hear that term from? Oh my god. For the first time, Wei Liao was exhausted by his son. Little Bean told me. Little Bean said that we kids were born because you adults didn't take responsibility. Ahem. Stay away from Little Bean from now on. Wei Liao warned. How can I do that? My mom said that Little Bean will be my wife in the future. Don't. We can't control such a smart daughter-in-law. Son, calm down. Wei Liao and Jiang Xiaowei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After the nanny finally took their son to bed, Wei Liao glanced at Jiang Xiaowei and said, Honey, I'm going to Lord Su's house. I might be late. Go. Drive safe. Wei Liao nodded. When he drove to Su Yu's mansion, he saw Tang Chuan's car there as well. It seemed that he was here to accompany Su Yu. After walking in, Wei Liao looked around and was slightly surprised. He asked Tang Chuan, Where's Lord Su? Chapter 1806. Tang Chuan pointed at the bedroom upstairs, but he didn't say anything. Wei Liao slowly walked up the stairs and went straight to the bedroom on the second floor. The door was open. Su Yu was lying on the carpet on the floor. His white shirt was open, and his body was exposed. He was holding the black velvet box tightly in one hand, and a wine glass in the other. The red wine was spilled on the floor. Even a man like Wei Liao's heart ached when he saw how dispirited she looked. Lord Su. You don't have to persuade me, I understand. But I'm still sad, Su Yu said in a hoarse voice. After returning to the mansion, he had been drinking. His heart ached, and he wanted to get drunk. But he was sober. He admitted that he was a little selfish. Although he always wanted to give Huomin without asking for anything in return, he couldn't help but be greedy and want to have her. If it weren't for Qin Chu's sudden return, he even thought that Huomin would agree to his proposal and marry him. Then, she would move in with the twins and live with him. From then on, the four of them would live happily ever after. With Su Yu's personality, he would definitely spoil the three of them. However, he forgot that Huomin and the twins were never his. They had always been Qin Chu's. He was too stubborn. In the beginning, he didn't want anything, but later on, he was delusional. In the end, he was wrong. Damn it. Qin Chu of all times, why did he have to come back now? It's been 4 years, and he only came back. Huomin had Lord Su by her side when she was pregnant, and Lord Su was by her side when she was giving birth. Now his wife and kids are all grown up, and he's back to enjoy everything. How can he be like this? No, I have to go talk to Qin Chu. What the hell is he doing? Does he think Lord Su is a big shot? Tang Chuan was an impulsive person, and he felt bad for Su Yu. After cursing to himself, he was about to go downstairs when Wei Liao stopped him. Stop right there. Young Master Wei, don't stop me. This time, I have to stand up for Lord Su. Second Young Master Tang, can you stop messing things up? What you're thinking is nonsense. You're Lord Su's buddy, so you only see Lord Su's sacrifice, but you don't see Qin Chu's tolerance. Do you think he's willing to stay away for 4 years and ignore his wife and kids? Do you think Huomin doesn't know what kind of person Qin Chu is? When it comes to love between a man and a woman, there's no fairness. It's all about who's willing to give. Even if Lord Su is upset, we can't blame Huomin and Qin Chu. First of all, Huamin never gave Lord Su hope. He never said that he wanted to be with Lord Su. Huamin also said more than once that even if Qin Chu died, he would never marry again. Even Lord Su confirmed this himself. As for you, I didn't even have time to scold you for coming up with such a stupid idea. What kind of proposal is this? It's really wrong of you to encourage Lord Su to boldly propose. If it succeeds, everyone will be happy. But if it doesn't, how are they going to get along in the future? It's so awkward. I was doing it for Lord Su's sake, wasn't I? Lord Su doesn't need us to do it for him. We can help him with anything else, but not love. We can't help him. If Lord Su doesn't give up, he'll always be the one in pain. Because it's destined that Huamin won't love him. Tang Chuan was unwilling to give up. This Huamin, why is he so stubborn? I have so many women around me. One day, I sleep with one, and the next day, I'll be with someone else. Their hearts change faster than their faces. How come when it comes to Huamin, they'll follow him through life and death? How strange. Can't they give our Lord Su a chance? Our Lord Su has to suffer for jumping into the pit that Huamin dug. Chapter 1807. Everyone is different. Lord Su likes Huamin so much because she's such a good person. If Huamin was a fickle woman, do you think Lord Su would still like her? Wei Liao was angry that Tang Chuan was so simple-minded. You have a point, Tang Chuan muttered to himself. So, you better stop. Don't go looking for them anymore. 4 years of separation was a torture for Qin Chu and Huamin. We're all outsiders, they're the victims. We can't deny Qin Chu's feelings for Huamin, just because we're biased towards Lord Su. That's not what a gentleman would do. I'm not a gentleman to begin with. Tang Chuan mumbled. Go boil some water for me, and make a pot of tea for Lord Su. Otherwise he'll get alcohol poisoning. Oh okay. Tang Chuan came to his senses after Wei Liao scolded him. He quickly went downstairs to boil water and make tea. Wei Liao helped Lord Su up from the ground and placed him on the big bed. Lord Su, fate can't be forced. I know everything. It's good that you know. We still have to live our lives. You can't lose confidence in life just because of what happened between you and Huamin. I know. Although Su Yu was dizzy, he wasn't drunk at all. Wei Liao sighed deeply and didn't say anything else. Su Yu took out his phone and looked at Huamin's photo on the screensaver. His eyes were in a daze. Then he opened his WeChat moments and wrote, I've heard a lot of things, but I still can't live a good life. Su Yu's WeChat had a few thousand people. There were many female celebrities, executives, business partners, and rich kids in the circle. His WeChat message immediately caused an uproar among his friends. Lord Su, what's going on? Did you fall out of love? Don't worry, President Su. There's nothing we can't overcome. President Su, what's wrong? Young Master Su is in a bad mood. Do you want me to have a drink with you? Su Yu couldn't be bothered to read the comments that were all over the place. South Hill Manor. The next morning, Qin Chu woke up early to make breakfast for Huamin and the twins because he did not sleep well. When the two little guys got up and went downstairs, there was a sumptuous breakfast on the table. Wow, there's so much good food. What's the occasion today? Little Bean licked her little tongue greedily. The twins were wearing white long-sleeved sweaters and red checkered dresses. They all had red Mickey Mouse hairbands on their heads, making them look especially adorable. Their clothes were all chosen by Huamin, and there were countless of them. Every outfit was exactly the same, and they even had matching headwear and shoes. They were really treated like princesses. It was true that Huamin loved his daughters very much. Even if they made mistakes, Huamin wouldn't hit them. He would only lecture them. Pudding looked at Little Bean coldly and said helplessly, Can you please bring your brain with you this morning? It's obviously Daddy's first time having breakfast with us. Of course it has to be sumptuous. You two can't fight so early in the morning. For Daddy, can you live in peace? Huamin laughed. It's impossible for us to live in peace. But for Daddy, I can tolerate her for a day. Then, Pudding walked up to Qin Chu and sat down beside him. Then, she blinked her big eyes and looked at Qin Chu with her baby voice. Good morning, Daddy. Good morning, my Pudding. Qin Chu's eyes were incomparably gentle. Little Bean sat on the other side of Qin Chu and asked curiously, Daddy, how do you know she's Pudding and not Little Bean? Because people say Pudding is tsundere and Little Bean is adorable. Chinshu laughed. Do you like the adorable one or the tsundere one? Little Bean continued to ask. I like both. That's a good answer. If you're not satisfied, Daddy, you can only choose one. Little Bean began to make things difficult again. Chapter 1808. Chinshu was at a loss for words. Then, she looked up at Huomin for help. Huomin replied helplessly. They've been like this ever since they learned how to talk. They're always giving me a choice. I can't say I like both of them. Daddy, can you not answer this question? Why not? Little Bean looked at Chinshu curiously. Because if Daddy only says one, the other one will be unhappy. You're both Daddy's daughters, and I don't want either one of you to be unhappy. So if Daddy has to choose one, Daddy really can't choose. Okay. Daddy, since you sound so pitiful, I'll let you go. Who would have thought that Chinshu's words would make Little Bean give up on making things difficult for him? That was amazing. Daddy, did you make this breakfast yourself? Little Bean took a bite of the grilled sausage and asked. How did you know? Chinshu was surprised. Because when the aunties at home make grilled sausages, they always put a lot of black pepper. I don't really like the taste. But Daddy made it today. Mommy doesn't like grilled sausages, so she never makes them for us. I think Daddy must have made it himself. Little Bean's words made Chinshu and Huomin look at each other in shock. She was only 3 years old, but her logical reasoning skills were already so strong. You're right, Daddy made it himself. Do you like it? Chinshu picked up a tissue and wiped the grease off the corner of Little Bean's mouth lovingly. Daddy, I want some too. Seeing this, Little Bean deliberately picked up the glass, took a sip of milk, and then wiped the milk off the corner of her mouth. Then, she stuck out her little tongue, waiting for Chinshu to wipe it off. Chinshu smiled and turned around, picked up another tissue, and patiently wiped his little daughter's mouth. Huomin dreamed of such a heartwarming scene. At this moment, she really felt like she was going to die of happiness. Honey, after breakfast, come to the company with me? No. Chinshu refused without hesitation. Why? Because I want to stay at home with my daughter. But you're the president of the headquarters. Is it really okay for you not to visit the branch offices when you return? Nothing is more important than spending time with our daughter. Honey, you should go to work. I'll stay at home and wash your clothes, cook for you, and take care of the kids. I'll just be a stay-at-home husband. Haha. Huomin couldn't help but laugh out loud. Pudding immediately reminded her. Mommy, can you not smile so fiercely? You'll scare Daddy away. How dare he? If he runs again, I'll. So what? Chinshu looked at Huomin with a smile, deliberately teasing her. If you run away again, I'll take Pudding and Little Bean and marry Suyu. Humph. Mommy, handsome Sue won't take the blame for your fight with Daddy. Little Bean immediately defended Suyu. Yeah, Mommy, you can't be so willful and let handsome Sue get implicated. It's unfair. Don't drag the innocent into your flirting with Daddy. Pudding chimed in. Huomin was speechless. Did you see that? Remember what your daughter said? Chinshu said proudly. Why do I suddenly feel like these two are betraying me? We're not on the same side anymore. Huomin laughed. At the Hua Corporation, Huasiqian didn't sleep at all last night. He had a lot on his mind and was furious at the morning meeting. He was so angry that he scolded all the employees. Huasiqian sat in his office with a gloomy face. Boss, now that Chinshu is back, what should we do now? One of his subordinates asked carefully. Chapter 1809. What should we do? I guess we have to settle old and new grudges together. Boss, do you want us to strike first and gain the upper hand? Huasiqian raised his hand. No need. I want to see how much Chinshu has grown over the past 4 years, hiding abroad like a coward. If he could fall into my hands 4 years ago, he'll do the same 4 years later. Yes, boss. We'll do as you say. Over the past 4 years, Huasiqian had disguised himself well and became a well-known entrepreneur in the city. Although Suyu and Huomin often bullied him in the business world, he didn't mind at all. It was just as he had said before. His biggest dream and ambition was not to earn as much money as he could, nor to gain fame and fortune. He just wanted to have Huamin. But Qin Chu wasn't around, so he couldn't fulfill his dream. To be honest, Huasiqian had wanted to kill Suyu many times, but Suyu's background was too special. Unlike Qin Chu, he wasn't just a simple entrepreneur. The Su family protected Suyu too tightly. If anything happened to Suyu, it would escalate to a political level. No matter how bold he was, he wouldn't dare to provoke a powerful country. Therefore, it could be said that Suyu was a bigger headache for Huasiqian. President Hua, Miss Yin is here. Okay, you can leave now. Huasiqian looked at his subordinate after hearing the female secretary's report. Yes. Hi, Qianqian. Yin Ruashi was still passionate about Huasiqian even after 3 years. She even gave up the opportunity to study abroad for Huasiqian and stayed in the city to open a pottery museum. Although Mayor Yin wanted to interfere, he couldn't. In the end, he could only accept his daughter's actions. At the same time, he thought that if Huasiqian could marry Ruashi, it would be good for his position. Huasiqian was smart enough to keep his distance from Yin Ruashi for the past few years. He didn't admit that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, nor did he touch Yin Ruashi. This made Yin Ruashi think that Huasiqian could marry her, which was why he respected her so much. Ruashi, what's up? Are you free at noon? Let's have lunch. My best friend opened a Sichuan restaurant on Suiwei Road. I remember you like spicy. Yeah. Huasiqian smiled. Are you coming or not? I've already booked a table. Okay. Huasiqian didn't refuse Yin Ruashi's kindness. Just like that, the two of them drove to the Sichuan restaurant on Suiwei Road. Coincidentally, Qin Chu brought the twins to the restaurant as well. Pudding and Little Bean both like spicy food. So Qin Chu asked someone to do some research and found that the new Sichuan restaurant here was quite delicious. Therefore, he brought the two little princesses with him. It was a silver gray Audi R8. Just like before, Qin Chu and Huamin were fans of Audi. They could afford a sports car worth tens of millions of yuan, but they only drove their favorite model, not the most expensive one. Little Bean and Pudding sat in the same seat, and Qin Chu fastened them with seatbelts. At first, Yang Meirong didn't think it was safe and insisted that the bodyguards follow them. However, Qin Chu politely refused. Since he dared to bring the twins out, he wasn't afraid of anything happening. In the past 4 years, he had experienced too much. Now he was a husband who could protect his wife, and a father who could give his daughters a sense of security. When Huasiqian and Yin Ruashi walked in, Qin Chu and the others were walking in as well. Coincidentally, they ran into each other in the lobby. Pudding, Little Bean, come here and let me hug you. Every time he saw the twins, Huasiqian was very enthusiastic. Chapter 1810. To be honest, Huasiqian didn't know why he was so evil. Back then, when Huamin was pregnant, he wanted to do something to her a few times. He didn't want Huamin to give birth safely, because he couldn't accept Huamin giving birth to another man's child. However, when the twins were born, he liked them for the first time. Although he didn't have many chances to see the twins in the past 3 years, every time he saw them, Huasiqian would look at them lovingly. It was as if they were his own children. Seeing Huasiqian, Little Bean seemed a little scared. She took a step back and hid behind Qin Chu. Qin Chu held his daughter's hand tightly. Pudding, on the other hand, was calm. She glanced at Huasiqian coldly and said, Mr. Hua, did you get the wrong person? We only have 2 uncles, Jing Jixin and Inai Yang. Who do you think you are? Hey, what are you talking about? Don't you have any manners? Yin Ruashi couldn't stand it anymore and defended Huasiqian. This is a conversation between us. Outsiders shouldn't interfere. After all, people who interrupt other people's conversations are even more ill-mannered. Pudding was still calm. Qin Chu couldn't help but praise his eldest daughter. She was a black-bellied and sharp-tongued baby. She was as arrogant as Qin Chu and as sharp-tongued as Huamin. She was his biological daughter. Yin Ruashi was about to go up and argue with her, when Huasiqian stopped her. Ruashi, why are you being so serious with the kid? Huasiqian smiled. Pudding, you seem to have misunderstood me. The truth is, I really like you and Little Bean. I give you guys presents every birthday. Who wants your presents? Mommy said that you're a wolf in sheep's clothing. Little Bean stuck out her tongue and made a face behind Chin-Chu. Huasiqian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So that's what your mommy said about me. Huasiqian smiled. So please don't pretend to be familiar with us in the future. Although my sister and I don't get along, we have the same thoughts when it comes to you. The two of us really hate you. Huasiqian. Daddy, let's go. I suddenly lost my appetite. Pudding proudly turned around and walked out. Chin-Chu held Little Bean's hand and immediately followed them. When they brushed past each other, Huasiqian smiled evilly. Welcome back. Our battle will continue. You can prepare a coffin for yourself now. I won't go easy on you. Chin-Chu said coldly as he turned around and left with his daughter. Huasiqian sneered. He didn't seem to take Chin-Chu's words to heart. Ruoshi intimately held Huasiqian's arm. Xianxian, are they your sister's daughters? They're so rude. It seems like your sister is also a rude person. Ruoshi, this is my family business. Then, Huasiqian quietly pulled his arm back and gently pushed Ruoshi away. Only then did Ruoshi realize that she might have said something wrong. It was strange. Every time they talked about that woman related to Huamin, Huasiqian would get angry. Did he have feelings for Huamin? In the Audi 8. Pudding, if you and Little Bean like it, we'll go in. It's okay. Chin-Chu comforted. When I saw that bad guy, I lost my appetite. Daddy, let's go to another restaurant. Anything is fine. You decide. Pudding, Daddy wants to ask you. Who told you that he's a bad guy? Chin-Chu was curious. He didn't think that Huamin would instill hatred in his children. Chapter 18:11. No one told us. Mommy would never tell us something so complicated. I heard Mommy, Auntie Lingling, and Auntie Xiaowei talking about it on WeChat. I also know that he's the reason why Daddy can't come back. Pudding explained. Little Bean immediately added. Yeah. Daddy, let me tell you. That guy looks like he's sly and cunning. He's so annoying. Every year, Mommy would sell his gifts and donate the money to the kids in the mountain area. She never accepts his gifts. Mommy hates him for a reason. That's why we decided to work together to ban him. Ban him together. Chin-Chu suddenly felt like he was raising two daughters. Did they have to have such high EQ? Daddy, I'm a little hungry. Why don't you take us to Axian's ramen for a bowl of noodles? Little Bean said pitifully as she rubbed her belly. Axian's ramen? Do you guys go there often? Chin-Chu was surprised. Of course. Mommy goes there once a month, rain or shine. We're used to it. To be honest, the noodles there aren't that good. But we don't want Mommy to be disappointed. Little Bean said honestly. I told you Mommy doesn't eat noodles. She eats feelings. Can you stop nagging? Pudding looked at Little Bean unhappily. The battle between the two sisters had begun again. In the end, Chin-Chu really did drive the girls to Axian's ramen. When the owner saw Chin-Chu, he froze for a second. Then he smiled warmly and said, Mr. Chin, you're back. Yeah. Chin-Chu nodded. You've changed a lot in the past few years. I watched you and your wife go from being students to working. Then you got married. Now your kids are all grown up. What a happy family. Thank you, boss. 3 bowls of ramen with extra beef. Thank you. Chin-Chu found a seat that he often sat at with Huamin, and sat down with the two sisters. Seeing that the place hadn't changed at all, Chin-Chu's heart was filled with gratitude. He knew that Huamin didn't come here to eat ramen. She came here because she missed him. His wife turned out to be as stubborn as him. Just then Little Bean muttered, I don't think Mommy came here because she wants to. Maybe it's because we don't have to pay to eat here. After all, I heard that Daddy saved a lot of money here. It's enough for the 4 of us to eat for decades. Chin-Chu was speechless. If Mommy hears this, she'll be shocked to death. Pudding looked at her sister helplessly. You too. You're so weird. You have so many ideas. Chin-Chu looked at his 2 daughters dotingly. He took out a scarf from his handbag and put it on each of them. She was afraid that the noodles would stain Charm's flowery dress. Pudding thought for a moment and looked up at Chin-Chu. Daddy, I have a very serious question to ask you. Ask away. Wait, let me interrupt. Daddy, you have to be careful. Pudding's questions are usually difficult to answer. You better be prepared. Little Bean pretended to give Chinshu a heads up. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Daddy is already prepared. Chinshu smiled warmly. Will you and Mommy have a second child? Pudding asked with a straight face. Chinshu was speechless. Sure enough, Pudding's questions were difficult to answer. Chapter 18:12. Pudding, why are you asking this all of a sudden? Chinshu didn't answer her question directly. He realized that he couldn't treat Pudding as a kid anymore. Her IQ was off the charts. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Before you came back, Mommy couldn't have a baby with someone else, so I never asked. Now that Daddy is back, this could happen at any time. I have to ask first, so I can be mentally prepared. Chinshu was speechless. Sis, you're thinking too much. Aren't you worrying too much? Pudding asked as she chewed on noodles. What do you know? This is called preparing for a rainy day. If we're like you and plan ahead, we'll be miserable. Pudding, if you're in an ancient palace drama, I bet you won't last more than one episode. Impossible. I'll make it to 1.5 episodes. Pudding refused to admit defeat. Chinshu's forehead was covered in cold sweat. What the hell was going on? Pudding, if Mommy and I want a second child, will you be okay with it? Chinshu asked tentatively. Pudding thought for a moment and said slowly, I don't mind. I'm not an only child, so one more or one less doesn't make a big difference to me. That's right. Even if it's just one sheep, it's still the same as letting 2 sheep go. We don't mind having one more sheep at home. But Daddy, if we don't mind you giving birth to a younger brother, will you mind us teaming up to bully him? Pudding asked. Chinshu was speechless again. These 2 kids were really smart, weren't they? They said they didn't mind their parents having a second child, but they didn't want their parents to mind them bullying their younger brother. Oh my God, what kind of logic was this? Daddy, why aren't you saying anything? Is this a hard question to answer? Pudding asked. No, Daddy was thinking. I don't have the final say in having a second child. It's up to your mommy. Plus, it's not easy to have a baby. You can't have one just because you want it. It depends on fate. Didn't Mommy go through a lot of trouble to get you 2 pregnant? So, it's still too early to say anything, Chinshu explained patiently. So Daddy, you haven't answered my question yet. Pudding refused to let go. Ahem. Pudding, to be honest, Daddy wants to have more children. After all, I love your mommy so much that even a football team isn't enough. But it depends on the situation. If Mommy's body doesn't allow it, Daddy won't let her suffer again. What do you think? Okay, you pass. But if you have a younger brother or sister in the future, Daddy can't be biased. Right. If Daddy favors the little one, we'll be unhappy. If we're unhappy, the consequences will be very serious. Little Bean threatened her father. Chinshu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But I don't have to worry. With my IQ, I won't lose to any younger siblings. Pudding was very confident in herself. She believed that even if she gave birth to a few younger siblings, she wouldn't be left out. Does IQ have anything to do with who Daddy and Mommy like? Funny. What's important is who's more attractive, right? It's hard for people not to like a cute girl like me. Little Bean began to be narcissistic. Chapter 18:13. Babies, it's time to eat the noodles. Otherwise, they'll get cold. Chinshu reminded them out of kindness. However, he thought that taking care of children wasn't easy. He originally thought that the twins were easy to coax. He thought they could eat, drink, and have fun. However, he didn't expect the twins to say such shocking things. His sister, in particular, would ask him difficult questions all of a sudden, and he had to answer them with trepidation. He was afraid that he would make his daughters unhappy if he said something wrong. In the past 4 years, Chinshu felt guilty towards Huomin. However, he knew that Huomin understood him, so he could slowly warm up to him. However, the twins were strangers to him, so he was eager to bond with his daughters. He didn't expect it to be so difficult. Daddy, is there something on your mind? Pudding glanced at her father and asked. No. Liar. Your eyes seem to be telling me that you're deeply worried. Chin-Chu was speechless. Daddy, what are you unhappy about? Tell us and make us happy, Little Bean added. Chin-Chu was speechless. Daddy, don't listen to Little Bean. She's just teasing you. Tell me what's on your mind. I can help you. Pudding, you're still a kid. There are many things you don't understand. For example, Pudding looked at Chin-Chu warmly and continued to ask. Daddy, you just came back and have a lot of things to deal with. When I think about those things, I have to be careful. Daddy, you're worried that we haven't been by your side for the past few years. So our hearts are with Handsome Sue, right? Pudding hit the nail on the head. Chin-Chu's eyes widened as he stared at his 3-year-old daughter, unable to utter a single word. How did the kid know? Then, Pudding and Little Bean, do you like Daddy more or Uncle Sue more? Chin-Chu didn't want to be so low and ask such a stupid question, but maybe he was infected by his daughters and wanted to ask a multiple-choice question. In fact, he was quite worried when he asked the question. He was afraid that the two sisters would say that they liked Suyu, or that their answers would be too official. If that happened, he would definitely feel a little disappointed. Oh, if that's the case, Daddy, don't worry. We don't have the same feelings for Daddy and Handsome Sue. We can't compare them, Little Bean said as she sipped her soup. How different? Chin-Chu patted Little Bean's head lovingly. Pudding, you tell me. I'll drink this soup first. Little Bean pointed at her sister. He threw the question to Pudding. Pudding pondered for a few seconds and replied, Daddy, if I tell you, you can't get angry. Daddy won't. How could he bear to get angry with you guys? Chin-Chu's guilt towards Huamin and his children over the past few years had made him make up his mind. Even if the two sisters burned down the villa for fun, he would not have the heart to get angry. His life creed was to spoil his wife and daughter so much that no one else could bear it. That way, they would belong to him forever. Although Mr. Chin was a quiet man of few words, he was very possessive. We love you very much, Daddy. Although we weren't with you when we were little, ever since we were little, or when we were in Mommy's belly, she has been telling us about you and Daddy. Now we've heard so much that we can recite the story of how you two met and fell in love. We also know that Mommy and Daddy love each other very much. We also know that Daddy loves us very much. You were forced to leave us because of a lot of helplessness. So we treat you as someone as important as Mommy. We love you guys very, very much. After hearing this, Chin-Chu felt something warm flowing through his heart. Chapter 1814. Pudding, who had always been cold and arrogant, could be so touching when she was warm. Little Bean nodded repeatedly, as if she agreed with Pudding. But we also love Handsome Sue very much. He's been with us since we were born, and in the past few years, no matter what we wanted, he'd buy it for us. Even if we wanted the stars in the sky. Mommy sometimes gets impatient with us, because we're still kids, and can do things that give people headaches. But Handsome Sue has never been impatient with us in the past 3 years. He really treats us like his own children. I don't think many men in the world can love someone else's children without being related by blood. Of course, some people say that Handsome Sue has a motive, that he wants to court Mommy. But I have to say that even if he has a motive, it's not easy for him to go this far. After a long time, even cats and dogs will develop feelings for each other, let alone humans. So in our hearts, we love Handsome Sue as well. Especially after Daddy came back. You've hurt Handsome Sue more than 10,000 times. We and Mommy are immersed in the happiness of your return. But Handsome Sue has to face the reality of losing everything by himself. Pudding couldn't continue, and tears welled up in her big, watery eyes. Little Bean saw this, and immediately put down her spoon. She continued. For the past 3 years, Handsome Sue has been living in a beautiful fantasy. Maybe he thought that Daddy wouldn't come back, and he thought that Mommy and us belonged to him. Until you came back, he suddenly lost everything. Maybe he's a little greedy, and wants something that doesn't belong to him. But that still can't erase the love and care he's shown us over the past few years. Although Daddy and Handsome Sue are rivals in love, we hope that you won't make things too difficult for us and Mommy. We also hope that Daddy won't interfere with our relationship with Handsome Sue. Although it's a little selfish and a little cruel to Daddy, it's our wish. Daddy, please grant us our wish. After the twins finished speaking, Qin Shu was deeply shocked. There was only one main point in the two sisters' words, which was that they loved Daddy and handsome Sue, both of them. Pudding Little Bean. I'm not an unreasonable person. I've been very grateful to Sue you for all these years. I can understand that you guys love him, and I won't be jealous. My return has hurt Sue you a lot. You guys are right. I won't interfere with you guys. And I won't interfere with the special relationship between your mommy and Sue you. Be it friends or confidants, people should learn to be grateful. If it weren't for the Sue family, Daddy wouldn't be happy today. That's great. I knew Daddy was a sensible person. Little Bean smiled sweetly. Thank you, Daddy. Pudding was relieved, but her reaction wasn't as big as Little Bean's. In comparison, Boss was more reserved, more like Qin Shu. At this time, Qin Shu's phone rang. He picked up his phone and glanced at it. Daddy, I need to take this. While Qin Shu was on the phone, Little Bean moved closer to Pudding and asked in a low voice. Sis, are we going to talk about this today? Do you want to tell Daddy that we're going to marry handsome Sue? Daddy is under a lot of pressure. He won't be able to accept it all at once. Let's take it slow, Pudding said calmly. You're right. Also, I'm the one who's going to marry handsome Sue, not us, Pudding corrected her. Damn it. How can that be? I want him too, I don't care. I can give you everything else, but not handsome Sue. Little Bean seemed a little agitated. Please keep your voice down. Don't let Daddy hear you. Pudding glanced at Little Bean's angry face. GK headquarters, President Hua, and has a favor to ask. After the morning meeting, and followed Huamin into his office. What is it? Huamin looked up at him. Chapter 1815. And hopes that President Hua can visit President Sue. Huamin was speechless. Ever since President Hua's husband came back, President Sue has been in a bad mood. He hasn't been to the company for the past few days. I think it must be a big blow to him. In the past few years, he's treated you and the twins as his family. Now that he's suddenly lost so much, I'm afraid he won't be able to pull himself out of it. After all, this is a big blow to him. About this, don't worry, I won't leave him in the lurch. In fact, even if An didn't say anything, Huamin wouldn't leave Suyu in the lurch. Even though he had told Suyu everything that day, Huamin didn't want to leave him in the lurch. However, Huamin knew that even though everyone understood the big picture, it wasn't as simple as giving up something. And had been by Huamin's side for 3 years. He had gone through life and death with Huamin, so they had a deep relationship. However, he still cared about his old master. Therefore he, who had always been a man of few words, actually took the initiative to ask Huamin to visit Suyu. It was truly rare. Thank you, President Hua. You don't have to thank me. And, you've been by my side for the past few years. It's really been hard on you. It's nothing. It's what I should do. You've been by my side protecting us and helping us so much. I'm very grateful. But I don't think I can be a burden to you guys now. I wanted to talk about this after I was done with work. But since we're here today, I'll be direct. I hope you can return to Suyu's side and accompany him. And protect him because to him, you're no longer just a bodyguard and assistant. You're more like a confidant or friend. Then what about you? And frowned slightly. I still have Bella. I'll make other arrangements to protect me. I think Suyu needs someone by his side right now. Then, you should talk to President Sue. Otherwise he won't let me go back. Shawan had said that he wanted to go back. But Suyu didn't let him. He was worried that Huasiqian was up to no good. Okay. I'll go back and talk to Suyu alone. Alright, I'll leave you to it then. President Hua, I'm going out. Okay. Huamin nodded. After An left, Huamin picked up his phone. She opened her WeChat Moments and looked at the status that Suyu had posted last night. I've heard many great truths, but I still can't live a good life. Huamin looked at this post and suddenly felt very sad. Such decadent words were not Suyu's style at all. He was so sunny, so high profile, and always full of confidence. She had everything she wanted. She was in a high position and had money. However, such a person with looks, status, power, and money lamented that he had not lived a good life. He didn't want to leave anyone else a way out. Then, Huamin sighed slightly. It seemed like she really had to find time to visit Suyu. She couldn't let him continue to be so depressed. At this moment, her phone rang. It was a video call from Chin Chu. Chin Chu was using the same number as before. Huomin's heart warmed up at the familiarity that she hadn't felt in a long time. Honey. The moment she saw Chin Chu, Huomin instantly turned into a shy girl. Honey, have you eaten? Not yet. I had a long meeting this morning. Are you tired? No. I'm used to it. What are you guys doing? I brought pudding and Little Bean to eat at Aexion's ramen. I can't believe you guys went to Aexion's ramen without me. Our friendship is over. Huomin was actually jealous of her daughter. She pouted and looked very cute. Oh my god. I didn't know mommy had such a side to her. She's so scary. Little Bean was dumbfounded. Chapter 1816. It's nothing strange. All women act like this when they see the man they love. Mommy is rational, but in the end I'm still a woman. Pudding sipped her soda calmly. Okay, so mommy is also a cute girl, Pudding exclaimed. When you're free, we'll come again as a family of 4. Chin Chu smiled dotingly. Did you miss me today? As soon as Huomin asked, before Chin Chu could reply, Pudding couldn't sit still anymore. Mommy, you've only been apart for less than 4 hours. How can you ask that? Mommy, you're so silly and sweet when you're in love. TSK, what an eye-opener. Pudding interrupted. You too. Shut up. Don't disturb me when I'm talking to Daddy. Pudding. 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 She's been very emotional lately. Pudding. Is it because she got older? Pudding. Unlikely. After all, she's only 28 years old. Pudding. Then it's because her husband is back and she's become arrogant. Pudding. That makes sense. Then let's not mess with her for the time being. Pudding. Why don't we tell her to move to Handsome Sue's place for a few days? Pudding. Huh? Good idea, but you should tell her. Pudding. Why me and not you? Pudding. Because acting cute and kissing up to people is your strength. Pudding. You're talking as if you've never done that before. Don't pretend to be a white lotus in front of me. Be careful, or you'll be slapped in the face. Huomin. Are you two done arguing? Chin Zhao Chin Mumu? Pudding. Mommy, calm down. Pudding. You have to be gentle in front of Daddy. Otherwise, which man can stand a tigress after a long time? It's fine if she's not pretty, but if she's not virtuous, then don't blame others. Huomin. Chin Chu, who were standing on the side, couldn't help but burst out laughing. When was the last time he was so happy? In the past, he had always thought that his wife had a sharp tongue and was very eloquent. The student had surpassed the master. His 2 daughters had defeated their mother in a matter of seconds. They had actually managed to drive Huomin crazy. It looks like I really have to think about sending you to kindergarten. You can't stay at home. Huomin's face darkened. It was so embarrassing to lose to her daughter in an argument in front of her husband. Forget about kindergarten. There's a generation gap between me and those kids. I don't have anything in common with them, Pudding said in disdain. I don't want to go either. It's a waste of my time. Why don't we just take the elementary school graduation exam and go to middle school? Little Bean suggested. You guys are only 3 years old, Huomin emphasized. I know. It's because we're only 3 years old that we have to go to the boring middle school. If we were older, we would have gone straight to the high school. After all, there are more young men there, Pudding said proudly. Huomin, on the other hand, was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. Honey, why don't we give our daughters away and have another child? Haha, honey, how can we do that? I can't bear to part with my precious daughters. Chin Chu couldn't stop laughing. Why was it that after becoming a father, he felt completely different from before? He laughed a lot more than before. As long as he had daughters at home, everything would be fine. If mommy gives us to Handsome Sue, we can consider it. But if it's someone else, forget it. They can't afford to raise us. It's too expensive. Little Bean was infatuated again. Honey, look at them, they're always talking back to me. They're so young and they're already so rebellious. What will they do when they grow up? So Mr. Chin, I'm seriously reminding you that you have to control your daughters. Huamin complained like a spoiled child. Chapter 1817. Qin Chu turned around and glanced at his two daughters. Little Bean continued to play cute. Daddy, Mommy is being irrational, but you can't be irrational. We don't want to be her bargaining chip and cannon fodder. Look at our names. You won't have the heart to blame us. Qin Zhaozhao and Qin Mumu, Zhaozhao and Mumu, Zhaozhao and Mumu. If they loved each other for a long time, they wouldn't be together day and night. You can see how much Mommy missed you back then. We were born to be your scapegoat. Daddy, do you really have the heart to bully us? Pudding looked at Little Bean with puppy eyes and said, Good girl, Daddy understands. Daddy loves you guys very much and won't blame you. Qin Chu really couldn't bring himself to do it. Honey, are you betraying us? Are you on their side? Do you have any principles? Huamin was speechless. Honey, they're your daughters too. You should go easy on them. Qin Chu comforted gently. Huamin was speechless. Very good. You three just wait. I'll deal with you guys after I get off work. In the end, Qin Chu and his two daughters were on the same side, while Huamin was helpless and hung up the video call angrily. Huh? Is Mommy angry? Little Bean was worried. No, she's just throwing a tantrum in front of Daddy. She hopes that Daddy can coax her. Women all have their little tricks up their sleeves. Okay, I'll learn this trick too. I'll use it against handsome Sue in the future. Little Bean smiled wickedly. Huamin had been busy at the company for the whole day. When it was almost time to get off work, Huamin couldn't sit still. He kept looking at his watch. President Hua, what's wrong? Do you have something going on tonight? Bella was confused. Do you have plans tonight? Just a dinner party. It's not very important. Oh, then let Jixin go in my place, Huamin said slowly. And okay. Bella, actually, I want to leave early. Huamin stuttered. Bella, you're the president. You can leave whenever you want. You don't have to leave early, haha. Bella felt that President Hua was becoming more and more adorable. I don't think that's a good idea. After all, this is my job. Huamin was in a difficult position. It's all right. Go ahead, President Hua. We understand. President Qin has just returned, so it's inevitable that you two will have more time together as husband and wife. Bella snickered. Then, help me keep an eye on them. If anything happens, just call me. All right. With Bella's words, Huamin rushed downstairs without any hesitation and drove straight home. On the way, he received a call from Jiang Xiaowei. Mian, are you still at the company? No, I got off work. I'm on my way home. Oh, is it convenient for you to come to the first hospital? Xiaowei, what's wrong? Huamin had a bad feeling when he heard Huamin mention the first hospital. Mian, did you know that Lord Su is sick? Sick? When? Huamin froze slightly, and his hands paused on the steering wheel. He's already in the hospital. I just received a call from Wei Liao. Tang Chuan and the others are all there, as is Auntie Su. Xiaowei, what's wrong with Su Yu? Is it serious? Huamin asked worriedly. He was just thinking about how to comfort Su Yu when he got sick. Who knew that such a strong man could be so fragile? Chapter 1818. High fever. We don't know what's causing it yet. We'll have to analyze the situation before we can make a conclusion. Okay, I got it. I'll go home first and go with Mr. Qin and the others. You guys go together? Jiang Xiaowei was a bit surprised. Pudding and Little Bean have always been close to Su Yu. If they know he's sick, they'll definitely make a scene. Plus, it's not appropriate for me to see Su Yu alone. I think the more we see him, the more pain he'll be in. I think it's better to go with Mr. Qin and see if he can let go of his obsession. Okay, I know what you mean. I'll go with my son in a bit. See you later. Okay. After the phone call with Xiaowei, Huamin drove back to South Hill Manor. Mommy, thank you for your hard work. I love you. Seeing Huamian come back, Little Bean immediately ran to her and threw herself into her arms. Then she started acting like a spoiled child. Pudding held Qin Chu's hand and watched coldly from behind. Daddy, see? I was right. Little Bean is a bootlicker. She's really good at sweet-talking people. She's probably afraid that your mommy will come after you guys, because of what happened today. Mommy won't. She's a woman with a tough mouth but a soft heart, Pudding analyzed. Chin-Chu tilted his head and looked at Pudding lovingly. Okay, this boss was really his biological one. They were so much alike. No matter what the situation was, she was always calm and collected. Honey, you're back just in time. Let's eat. Let's not talk for now. We need to go to the first hospital. Hwamin didn't have time to change his shoes. What's wrong? Suyu is in the hospital. They said he has a high fever. The Su family is all there. Xiaowei just called me. I think we should go and see him. Okay, let's go now. Chin-Chu nodded, agreeing with Hwamin. He held Pudding's hand and walked out. Hearing that Suyu was hospitalized, Pudding and Little Bean looked very nervous. Oh my God, is handsome Su sick? Little Bean exclaimed. Mommy, let's go now. Otherwise we'll be stuck in traffic during rush hour. Pudding couldn't wait any longer. The family of 4 left just like that, because there was a limited number of people in the sports car. Therefore, Chin-Chu drove his original Maybach to the first hospital with his wife and child. Entrance of the VIP ward. Mian, you're here. Lady Su looked haggard. Grandma Su, don't be sad. Handsome Su will be fine. Pudding comforted her. Grandma Su, I've missed you for the past 2 days. Sob sob. Let me hug you first. Little Bean continued to bootlick and act coquettishly. Lady Su liked the twins very much. She immediately squatted down, kissed one of them, and hugged the other. She loved them dearly from the bottom of her heart. Auntie, how's Suyu? Hwamin looked worried. The test results aren't out yet. I'm waiting too. This kid is so troublesome. I always thought he was in good health. How did he become like this all of a sudden? Tang Chuan and Wei Liao went downstairs to buy water. When they came back, they saw Hwamin and Chin-Chu. Tang Chuan didn't look too good. At a time like this, Lord Su wouldn't want to see your family reunited, right? Dr. Hua, I think you shouldn't provoke Lord Su. After all, he only has one life, Tang Chuan said sarcastically. Wei Liao even mocked him, reminding him not to cross the line. Chapter 1819. Ever since Chin-Chu came back and Hwamin returned home, Tang Chuan had been very angry. Although Wei Liao tried to comfort him several times, Tang Chuan was too straightforward and couldn't help but make sarcastic remarks. Chuan, how can you say that? Mion's family is here to visit you. He'll be happy. Lady Su corrected him. Auntie. Tang Chuan seemed very unhappy. Just then, the door to the ward opened, and the doctor who examined Suyu walked out. Doctor, how's my son? Lady Su immediately went up and asked. Young Master Su's condition has stabilized. It's not a big problem. It's just that he hasn't been eating and resting well recently, which caused his immune system to drop rapidly. We've already given him an injection to reduce his fever, and he's on a nutrient drip now. You can go in and visit him now. Okay, thank you, doctor. Then, Lady Su led everyone into the ward. Suyu was slowly waking up. If it weren't for Tang Chuan's frequent visits to his house, he would have been in bed for a long time already. He didn't even know that he had a fever, and was delirious from it. You're all here. It's just a small matter. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Suyu forced a smile. Handsome Su, I was so worried about you. Little Bean couldn't help but cry. Then, she ran over and lay down in front of Suyu's bed. Little Bean, don't cry. Uncle Su is fine. Suyu comforted the little girl gently. Pudding also walked over slowly. Compared to Little Bean, she wasn't as outgoing, and didn't like to show her emotions on her face. Pudding was more introverted, so she didn't cry out loud. Instead, tears welled up in her eyes. Handsome Su, you have to get better soon. You promised me that you'd teach me how to race. Shoo, can you lower your voice? Your mommy will skin me alive. Suyu was scared out of his wits. If Hwamin knew that Suyu taught Pudding how to race, he would probably go crazy. Don't worry. Mommy has daddy now. She doesn't have time for us, Pudding said in a low voice. Suyu couldn't help but laugh, and then he patted Pudding's head lovingly. Because there were too many people, there were some things that were too embarrassing to say. Chin-Chu and Hwamin sat for a while before leaving. Pudding and Little Bean didn't want to leave, so they stayed. In a while, Xiaowen would personally escort them away, On the way back, Chin Chu was silent. Honey, what are you thinking about? I was thinking, why do my daughters seem so sad about Suyu? Haha, you just realized. Huamin laughed heartily at Mr. Chin's lack of awareness. Were they like this before? They've been like this since they were little. Actually, kids are very innocent. They'll treat whoever treats them well. In the past few years, Suyu has been treating them well in various ways, giving them everything they want. They definitely like Suyu a lot, that's normal. Why? Are you jealous? No. I'm just worried about something. What is it? Huamin froze for a second when he saw how serious Chin Chu was. When they grow up, they won't turn their feelings and dependence into feelings for each other, right? Chin Chu was really worried. He originally thought that Pudding and Little Bean were just joking, but now it seemed that the sisters really did treat Suyu differently. So, Mr. Chin had to start thinking about life again. Ha 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 ha, you're killing me. Huamin burst out laughing when he heard Chin Chu's worries. Chapter 1820. Honey, can you not laugh so crazily? Chin Chu was speechless. I can't believe you have such thoughts. You're amazing. Haven't you noticed that the twins have a strong reaction to Suyu? I have. They've always been like this. Don't be surprised. They often tell me that they want to marry Suyu when they grow up. They often argue about who Suyu likes more. But they're just kids. When they grow up and understand the relationship between a man and a woman, they won't feel this way anymore. It's not just because of the age gap. The most important thing is that they don't even know what kind of feelings they have for Suyu. What kind of feelings do you think they have? Chin Chu tilted his head and looked at Huamin seriously. I think it's a very subtle feeling. It's a little lighter than the feeling of a father, but it's also deeper than an ordinary elder. It's a kind of extreme dependence and love, but in the end, it's still the feeling of an elder. You're right. I hope you're right. I don't want my daughters to marry an old man in the future. Plus, that old man is an old acquaintance of mine. Huamin burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Do you want Suyu to call you mother-in-law in the future? Huamin, honey, you've changed in the past 4 years. What changed? Chin Chu was confused. You've become childish. Your IQ has plummeted. Haha. Huamin laughed happily. Chin Chu, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. It was rare that they didn't have to take the twins with them. So Huamin suggested that they eat something before going home. Chin Chu and Huamin held hands and found a clean Chinese restaurant just like they did when they were teenagers. After dinner, they went to the nearby Rainbow Square to enjoy the night view, which was rare. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the northern winter was already dark, and the cold wind was blowing gently. However, that didn't stop the enthusiastic citizens from entertaining themselves in the spacious and beautiful square. The aunties were dancing in the square, and the children were riding on the scooters. There were even small accessories, nail clippers, hair clips, and everything else that the old grandfathers and grandmothers had set up stalls to sell. Huamin was wearing a beige cashmere coat and a light green scarf. She held Chin Chu's arm tightly. She suddenly felt that this winter was not so cold. Chin Chu was wearing a black casual jacket. He didn't look like a man in his early 30s at all. Perhaps it was because he was too handsome. So when he walked on the streets, he would often attract the attention of many girls. Every time this happened, Huamin would feel a sense of superiority. Such a handsome Mr. Chin would only belong to her. This pride was the greatest affirmation she had for Mr. Chin and herself. Honey, are you cold? Chin Chu held Huamin's hand. I'm not cold. Let's walk a little longer. Okay. Chin Chu nodded. He held Huamin's hand and slowly walked on the small path in the square. Honey. Yeah? These 4 years must have been hard for you, right? Huamin asked softly. It wasn't hard. Everything I did for you guys was worth it. Upon hearing this, Huamin felt a lump in her throat. Mr. Chin never talked about his 4 years in Seattle in detail, and he only mentioned the complicated and terrifying surgeries. However, Huamin could feel his pain. Every time she thought about how Chin Chu was forced to leave her, and how much inhumane pain he suffered, Huamin wanted to stab Huasiqian dozens of times to vent her anger. Do you have any plans for now? Huamin took a deep breath. She was afraid that Qin Shu would feel sad as well, so she changed the topic. What are you talking about? Huasiqian. Huamin replied in a low voice. Yeah, I have plans, and I'm already implementing them. Qin Shu smiled faintly with his usual confidence. Huamin was slightly surprised. She looked up at him. Before Huamin could ask more, Qin Shu lowered his head and gently kissed her cold lips. Then he slowly nibbled on her lips, with endless love. Chapter 1821. How long had it been since Huamin and Qin Shu had a romantic moment together? She had almost forgotten how it felt. Now, Qin Shu's passionate kiss made her feel as if she had returned to her shy teenage years. Huamin was already 28 years old. Her twin daughters were already 3 years old, so she was no longer a teenage girl. However, Qin Shu was the only man who could make her heart flutter and turn her into a naive, innocent and sweet man. She thought that no one in the world could give her this feeling other than Qin Shu. Qin Shu and Huamin kissing in public was a small matter. It was normal for a married couple to be lovey-dovey. The problem was there were abnormal people following them. Over the past few years, Huasiqian couldn't get close to Huamin, but his obsession didn't decrease. Instead it deepened. He seemed to want to see Huamin's every move. He had several cabinets full of Huamin's photos. Over the past 3 years, no matter if it was Huamin attending meetings, attending ribbon-cutting ceremonies, business dinners, negotiating business deals, going on personal trips, or accompanying his daughters to the amusement park, Huasiqian's people would always follow him around and take countless photos. Inside the Hua Manor, Huasiqian looked at these photos with a gloomy expression on his face. Boss, why don't we do it tonight? Are you brainless? If Qin Shu wasn't fully prepared, how could he come back in time? Since he's back, it means that he's always on guard. If you do it tonight, I can guarantee that all of us will die. Huasiqian had always been cautious when doing things. Yes, you're right. Huasiqian's fingers trembled slightly as he held onto the photos. Qin Shu and Huamian kissed in public without a care for their image. This wasn't lovey-dovey. This was cutting into his heart. If Suyu was in pain, he could show it. But for Huasiqian, this was an internal injury. He had no way of showing his internal injuries. Boss, Miss Emo is here. Upon hearing this, Huasiqian swiftly put away the photos, placed them in his desk drawer, and stood up. Emo Shuer walked in. She was wearing a strapless dress and a gray fur coat. She looked as elegant and classy as ever. Emo Shuer continued to pester Huasiqian for the past few years. But Huasiqian no longer touched her. Other than occasionally fooling around with Jiang Yi, she also made a bunch of shady friends. Although they were all rich kids in the circle of rich people, they were also notorious young thugs. Compared to Su Yu and Tang Chuan, they were simply not on the same level. Mo Shui was still a celebrity under Huasiqian's company, but Huasiqian no longer supported her. He seemed to be disappointed in her. Xiqian, you don't look well. Are you in a bad mood? Mo Shui walked over with a smile. Why are you here? I missed you. We've been together for so many years. We've been together longer than some couples. You know how much I love you. Ha, don't you think it's funny that you're saying this? Haha, I'm really here to see you out of the goodness of my heart, Xiqian. You can't keep people at arm's length. Qin Shu is back. You're going to be in big trouble. He's not the type to let you go. So what? Do you think I'm afraid of him? He's just Qin Shu. I kicked him out 4 years ago. 4 years later, I'll still make sure he's unable to make a comeback. What if Qin Shu and Su Yu team up? Mo Shui asked with a smile. Do you think that's possible? Qin Shu is such an arrogant person. Why would he team up with Su Yu to go against me? Huasiqian sneered. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.